It is 2 o'clock on Wednesday, February 11th. I'm Zach Merchant, joining you from the 11Alive Plus Streaming Center. We're glad you're here. We are tracking new developments, starting with the second day and the first day after the Palmetto Elementary School shooting in the southern portion of Fulton County. Yesterday, a woman was fatally shot outside what appears to be the front door of that school. All students and staff were unharmed, according to the district. Students have now returned. They are back in class today. We'll have much more on the fallout and follow-up to that frightening situation that is still under investigation outside of an elementary school. We're also following the latest in the ongoing search for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today's Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie. Late yesterday and into the overnight hours, some new developments, including authorities executing a search warrant in connection to that case. We'll have much more on that in moments. And we have a live conversation coming up with somebody from the Carter Center following some research they are conducting on possible alternatives to some current policing tactics as law enforcement and researchers grapple with a changing crime situation in our state and around the country. That is all coming up just in moments, but we start here with our Nicole Hartford, meteorologist Nicole Hartford, and a look at the weather.
Following a soggy morning, rain will steadily be moving out during the day today. We've got a cold front that's currently working its way across the southeast. Behind this cold front will clear out pretty quickly, so some isolated showers will still linger throughout the next few hours, and then some milder and drier air moves in later today and into tonight. Now, there will be a little drop in temperatures associated with this cold front. Colder air is going to be sinking southward, but the true cold air stays well up towards our northeast. So you'll notice a little drop in temperatures, especially when it comes to those overnight lows, but it's not going to be necessarily winter cold like what we were experiencing just a week or so ago. Our high temperatures yesterday got up into the 60s and 70s. We're still in the 60s this afternoon with a high right around 65 degrees in Atlanta. Behind that cold front, though, our afternoon high temperatures fall down into the low 60s for the rest of the week, as well as into the weekend. This is still above average for this time of year. Average high temperature in Atlanta, 57 degrees. So we're still running a few degrees above where we typically are for early to mid-February. Throughout the next few days, we'll still get to enjoy some of those warmer afternoons, and the rainfall also stays out of the forecast throughout the end of the week. A few isolated showers still possible as this cold front moves through. So a little rain here and there could linger even into the evening commute today. But once that cold front sinks down to our south, the cloud cover, the rainfall, it sinks southward as well. So by the time the sun sets tonight, any of those lingering isolated showers are well to the south of us, and we're drying out throughout the afternoon as well as the evening. Throughout the day today, temperatures will still warm up nicely, even with the added cloud cover. We'll even manage to mix in a little bit of sunshine as we get closer to the sunset. Temperatures will get up into those low to mid 60s and then cool down pretty quickly as we clear out through the overnight hours. So by tomorrow morning, temperatures will fall down into the mid to upper 30s. Now, most spots are going to stay above freezing. There are, of course, a couple exceptions. Up into Blairsville, getting down to 27, 32 in Clayton, 34 in Canton by tomorrow morning, and then 34 in Carrollton. That does mean for kiddos at the bus stop tomorrow morning, you will likely need a coat or a jacket if maybe you swapped it out for a sweatshirt this morning and you did without any of the heavier layers. Tomorrow morning, it is going to be chillier. So temperatures are falling down into those 30s. We'll be right around that 38-degree mark in the Atlanta metro as the sun rises. And we're in for a nice warm up tomorrow afternoon as well. Forecast high temperatures by tomorrow are back up into those low 60s with some 50s up into far north Georgia. High tomorrow afternoon of 59 degrees in Canton, 63 in Atlanta, 57 in Blairsville, 64 out towards Athens. So again, not quite as warm as where we were just yesterday, but still unusually warm for this time of year. Those temperatures will stay mild into the weekend. We will remain dry at least for Thursday and Friday. We'll keep those rain chances out of the forecast, but by this weekend, rain chances will return up to only 30% by Saturday, and then by Sunday up to 70% as this storm system works in from the west. This is going to push in some even milder air for the start of the weekend as that warm front comes through, and then all that Gulf moisture will spread across the southeast as our cold front works through the region by Sunday morning. So rain chances will be on the rise throughout the day on Saturday, and then more widespread rain is expected into Sunday. That does mean if you have weekend plans that do involve getting outside, I would say Saturday is probably the preferable day, especially in the morning. Should be able to stay dry. By the afternoon, a few of those isolated showers develop, and then by Sunday, we're talking more widespread rainfall and also the potential for a few isolated embedded thunderstorms as these come through. As far as rain chances go, it looks promising that we could pick up some good rain accumulation on Sunday, and temperatures will continue to run likely above average for the foreseeable future. In fact, our 8 to 14 day temperature outlook shows likely warmer than average temperatures into the next 2 weeks. So temperatures will continue to run likely in those low to even mid 60s. So even with our drop in temperatures, we're talking 60s into early next week. High temperatures will rebound behind that front. So we're pushing 70 degrees once again by Tuesday. Again, if you have those outdoor weekend plans, Saturday definitely looks like the preferable day.
That is our meteorologist, Nicole Hartford. We are now going to turn to a story we have been following for the last 24 hours. If you were with us all day yesterday, you watched it unfold in real time. A frightening situation outside of an elementary school here in Fulton County. That was at Palmetto Elementary School. A fatal shooting outside the front door of that elementary school. It took place just about 24 hours ago, around lunchtime yesterday. The school district quickly confirming all students and all staff were safe. One woman was fatally shot. She has since been identified by the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office as 34-year-old Ebony Anderson. The district went on to say that Anderson is not a school district staff member. Her children are students inside of the Fulton County School District. They are not students at Palmetto Elementary School, though, the district confirmed. A suspect has been identified and is now in custody. That suspect identified by law enforcement officials as Christopher Ates, a 39-year-old. He was apprehended in Houston County, which is in central Georgia. It's about 2 hours south of the scene. The arrest involved multiple agencies. I want to walk you through it. It began when Warner Robins police officers spotted a vehicle suspected of being the vehicle of the suspected shooter in this case. A chase began. The suspect fled. This is all according to Warner Robins police and Houston County Sheriff's Office. Eventually, the Houston County Sheriff's Office took over the chase. Multiple attempts to deploy a pit maneuver were used. All of them were unsuccessful, according to law enforcement. Eventually, Ates hit a semi and then a guardrail. His vehicle went off the roadway down an embankment. Authorities say he then fled into the wood line before eventually being arrested. There was a juvenile found in the vehicle with Ates, according to the Houston County Sheriff's Office. That juvenile was evaluated by Emergency Medical Services and then turned over to the Houston County Sheriff's Office's Juvenile Division. Yesterday, students at Palmetto Elementary School spent a good portion of their day under a hard lockdown. The district says that hard lockdown was initiated as soon as a threat was determined to exist. That was the shooting that took place outside of the school. Today, students are back in session. Extra police, extra law enforcement are on hand, the district said. Some parents, understandably, still shaken, dropping their students off. One parent told an 11Alive news crew this morning that they dropped their daughter off deliberately late today to try to delay dropping them off because the parents said they had knots in their stomach. Another loved one of a student at Palmetto Elementary School spoke with 11Alive yesterday, describing the scene and describing what unfolded inside that school as students were placed on lockdown.
I didn't know what was going on. When they told us it was a shooting, They just say it was a shooting. They didn't say it was in the parking lot. They didn't say nothing. We didn't know if they was in there. We didn't know nothing. I was scared. I don't know.
I thought they was gonna like kick the door open and then start shooting. Like start shooting the kids.
Yeah, they okay. They all right. They fine. They was a little scared. They said they classmates was crying, and I was crying too.
Out of nowhere, when we was doing our work, they didn't say it was a lockdown. There was just an alert that said this is a hard lockdown. So she turned off the lights. We stopped making noise. We went to the corner and sat down, and we just been quiet.
A really tough situation for parents, for family, for loved ones, and of course those students. Our Doug Richards interviewed that family, interviewing including those students with the permission of their guardian there with them, their loved one. Just a really scary situation, and a lot of questions still to be answered. We do know now that that suspect is in custody, but still a lot of questions about how this all unfolded, why and what circumstances led up to the shooting. We will continue to follow on that and ask questions about how this all occurred just feet from the door to this elementary school. This is, and you heard that student talking about it, students, they train to know what to do when a lockdown is called. Classroom teachers, the classroom students, they practice this just like you'd practice a fire drill or a tornado drill, a severe weather drill. And you heard that student reflecting that they knew what it meant and what they had to do when a lockdown was called. Earlier today, our Jonathan Martin had a conversation with Thaddeus Johnson, who is a law enforcement expert and a professor at Georgia State University. He's an academic. He studies these things. He also worked for a number of years as a police officer himself. He talked with Jonathan today about how schools and law enforcement and first responders prepare to respond to these incidents and how schools train their staff and their students through these lockdown drills. Here's their conversation.
Well, as investigators are piecing together what led up to the deadly shooting, many parents are also asking how the violence tied to a personal dispute can spill onto school grounds and what, if anything, can be done to prevent something like this from ever happening again. So let's talk about this case this morning now with Dr. Thaddeus Johnson, an assistant professor of criminal justice at Georgia State University. He's also spent a career of more than 20 years in law enforcement. We're always glad to have you on. So let's start with this. From a law enforcement perspective, which you certainly have, how critical are those first few minutes when a situation like this happens right on a school campus?
No, thank you for having me. And it's so important. The lockdown is the first thing that, it's a protective default. You hear shots fired outside the school. The suspect is not in custody. The safest move is to freeze movement, secure the classrooms, and let the clear the threat before anyone comes in or students really move around. And this is the thing, sometimes it can be upsetting because parents can't get allowed into the building, but this is how you prevent a bad situation from actually getting worse. And so actually seeing how they handled everything and the steps they took, that's what you want to see. The lockdown, communications, enforcement teams working together to subdue the suspect and making sure that everyone gets home safely inside of that school.
Yeah, it seemed, as you alluded to, that the school was pretty prepared immediately going into the hard lockdown. But as we said earlier, this seemed to have been a domestic dispute that came onto campus grounds. So when you hear that, what stands out to you the most?
It's hard. The schools are a central part of the communities, and they can input into community, but they can also have things spill over onto their campuses. And mind you, domestic violence disputes on campus are not a common thing, but they're common enough because think about it. This is where known patterns of behavior happen. It can be emotionally charged, particularly involving schools and families. And this is why, schools have to be mindful not only what happens on their school, not only train and work with parents on things that happen on school grounds, but also understand that what's happening in the families and the communities around that, because the school is a central hub that can be impacted bidirectionally.
And this was especially, I'm sure, traumatic for students. We're talking about young kids, elementary school students. What type of psychological toll could this take on them, those who perhaps just knew what was going on, or even maybe those who heard some gunfire?
I mean, absolutely, and that's the problem with it. You even hear about people who live in communities, children who live in communities where there's gun violence or gunfire, where they have sleepless nights. We know they have psychological issues and functional issues. Also, just the trauma of seeing these things, of hearing these sounds, and that's one reason why the individual was charged with second-degree cruelty to children, because it wasn't a direct impact, but indirectly. Did they see the violence? Will that trigger them? And there can be emotional damage from it. And so having counselors on hand, having professionals on hand where students can kind of talk about it, but also their families as well, too, because they were impacted, too.
Absolutely. I visited some local schools, and usually there's a strict layer of security to get into the building. So we know that there are layers of protection for getting into the school. But are there any layers of protection that could be in place to even prevent some of these outside threats from even getting on campus at all?
Yeah, there isn't one. There's no magic bullet, unfortunately. So when you think about this, you want to make sure you have upstream domestic violence prevention and support within the communities, community violence intervention and these things, working with police. But you also want to make sure that you have strong pickup and perimeter procedures, have volunteers out there. If you can have school security out there doing pickup times, that will really be great. Threat assessment protocols that not only include what happens inside the school, but adults and communities. Like oftentimes we see police have these widespread emergency type of trainings or events. That's the combination that reduces risks and harms. And also open lines of communication. How can parents reach you if something's going on? How can the community reach you? And make sure you have a clear line of communication between the police, that you actually have a police force that is trained on how to deal with these situations without causing panic, but also a community that's trained and enlightened on what their expectations are of their behavior during these situations to keep everybody safe.
Just glad everyone was safe in this case. And again, the school was prepared. Dr. Thaddeus Johnson, we appreciate you as always.
And we are going to continue to follow this story, and we will have a live update from our Marissa Sarbach coming up in about 45 minutes, delivering the very latest on this first day back in class for those Palmetto Elementary schoolers who had their day completely upended by this frightening, deadly shooting outside of their school yesterday. We're going to hear from Marissa coming up around 3 o'clock. We're going to turn now to our Doug Richards, who is live at the state capitol for us. Doug, you have an update on a piece of legislation dealing with an industrial byproduct known in some corners as chicken sludge. And this is a topic you have been following for some time.
That's exactly right, Zach. A couple of years ago, I got a tip from somebody saying that there were farm implements spreading this nasty gunk on a field across from a high school in Clark County. We went out there. Sure enough, there was farm implements spreading this foul-smelling stuff on a field across from the high school. And we learned over a period of really days and weeks that the gunk that was being spread is called soil amendment, and that the chicken sludge, which is really what the stuff is, was sanctioned by the state agriculture department as a sort of measure of recycling to get stuff out of chicken slaughterhouses around Georgia. And of course, the poultry industry is huge in Georgia. It is protected faithfully by members of the legislature here. And so this soil amendment issue, when it comes up typically in terms of we must protect Georgia's greatest industry, which is agriculture, and therefore we must be able to spread the byproduct that ends up on the floor of the slaughterhouses someplace other than in wastewater treatment plants. So they spread it on fields, and the neighbors have a tendency to complain about the smell of the stuff in the fields. They tend to spread it in places where there are not a lot of neighbors, thankfully, but those who have reacted to it, both to me in TV stories and in their own communities, tend to react rather harshly to it. And so, to get to why we're talking about it today, there is a bill in the House of Representatives which advanced through a House committee this morning, which would ever so slightly rein in the application of the soil amendment onto fields by requiring a buffer zone away from property lines, as well as sort of regulating how it can get transferred from public roads onto these private fields where it is spread. We talked today with both the chairman of the Oglethorpe County Board of Commissioners, where this has been a problem for years, and we also talked with the Ogeechee Riverkeeper about their takes on this. Let's hear from them now.
Agricultural fields just being used as dump sites just to get rid of just massive amounts of it, the soil amendment, and not really doing anything for the soils there, So the program has been abused. There have been some bad actors, not following the rules, not making sure that the soil amendment is injected into the soil.
It's industrial wastewater, and it should be treated as such, and it should go into wastewater treatment plants, in my opinion, is where it should be.
So, Zach, I'm gonna just mention there was a song that the Chicago bluesman Howlin' Wolf wrote and sang called "Killing Floor," which is about the slaughterhouses of Chicago, but it's also a love song in its own great way, and that is the essence of where this stuff originates, maybe if there was a musical soundtrack with the application, it might be more soothing to the neighbors in places like Oglethorpe and Wilkes County and Taliaferro County and Clark County and other counties that I've visited where this has been an issue and where the neighbors have been greatly stirred by not only the smells and the flies, but also by the state's just very stubborn and very committed backing of this program as being something that the state needs for the number one business in Georgia, which is agriculture, Zach.
Well, Doug, we always know that you're going to get into even the messiest topics underneath the Gold Dome. We also appreciate a little bit of music history. That is always welcome here. One question, Doug, before you go. Do you have a sense of how support and opposition for this bill is lining up, and is it falling neatly along party lines, or is this the kind of issue under the Gold Dome that splits party affiliations?
This is definitely not an ideological party issue. These are mostly Republican counties where it is being applied and where it's turning a lot of conservative local politicians into folks who find themselves oddly in opposition to the conservatives who run the state government. One of the strongest backers of soil amendment programs is Tyler Harper, who is the elected agriculture commissioner. Seems to be a pretty popular guy. I don't hear about a lot of people talking about running against him so far in this coming election, possibly because agriculture commissioner may be a little far off the radar for a lot of the ambitious politicians in the state, but it does cross party lines, and yet, even the opponents of it recognize how that in a state where the business of the state, number one place to do business, with the number one industry being agriculture and the number one industry within agriculture being poultry, arguably. The support for it is undeniable, and they don't want to mess with that too much, Zach.
Doug Richards at the Capitol, we appreciate it as always. Thank you, sir. And we are going to turn now to a look from an organization called PAD at policing alternatives and new techniques in law enforcement. Our Aisha Howard had a conversation back in August with a representative of PAD. We're going to have a live interview on the back end of this, but we're going to play you this story from Aisha now to give you a little bit of context about this conversation coming up. Here is that piece.
We try to give you what you need. We have different size clothes, hygiene kit, your socks. It's a first aid kit. Try to make sure we keep that handy.
Their uniform is empathy.
And here are just some more hygiene kits.
Their mission, meet people where they are.
And we got a call. Here we go. Y'all get to see firsthand what we get ready to do.
Meet Beck and Bam, two of the people behind the Policing Alternatives and Diversion Initiative response team.
Service like this is definitely necessary.
Offering help to people struggling with poverty, addiction, or mental health issues in Atlanta. Our 11Alive crew rode along with the duo as they showed us service in action.
I think every issue doesn't need police response. Sometimes it needs people who are in the peer support role or people that are trained social workers, mental health, first aid technicians. Those are some of the people that we need to kind of diffuse situations and de-escalate situations.
I got called to this work because of lived experience. I tell everybody it's not about the pay or nothing like that. This is hard work, not hard work.
PAD rolled out in Atlanta in 2017 to reduce unnecessary arrests and offer care instead of criminal charges.
It's okay, we get out and talk to you for a minute.
So, instead of calling 911,
would you like a MARTA card from us?
If you see someone in need, you can dial 311 and a PAD team is dispatched within 30 minutes.
If they see someone who has needs and you're thinking to yourself,
some extra chips, okay?
Hey, I want to help this person, but I don't know how, that person can call 311.
When responders arrive, the focus is on dignity, not discipline.
That person can accept our support and we'll figure out what that person's emergent needs are.
Let's get your peanut butter and jelly crackers.
Tanisha Dorr says one of the lowest moments of her life when she was discovered sleeping on the roof of a building.
I ended up losing my car and my apartment. Sit down, sir.
Led to the turnaround she desperately needed. The building owner called police, who then called a PAD responder.
They just listened to me, talked to me for a little bit, and next thing I know, I was already set up in a hotel.
Tanisha is one of hundreds of people PAD has helped. From January through June of this year, PAD received 675 referrals through ATL 311 for quality of life concerns.
They showed up as a person, as a real person.
The city and county jointly oversee PAD's funding. At the end of last year, a contract lapse forced PAD to temporarily pause services until the Atlanta City Council approved a $5 million extension in January.
We never know whose lives we're going to take.
For participants like Tanisha, it's a lifeline.
They're going to look at you, they're going to listen to you, they're going to hug you, and they're going to help you.
In Atlanta, Aisha Howard, 11Alive News.
And we are going to bring in right now Carrie Mackey, who is with the Carter Center. And Carrie, you are working on this project in partnership with the Policing Alternatives and Diversion Initiative. That's PAD. We just heard our Aisha Howard with some context about the work PAD does. Carrie, let's start here. Can you tell me and tell our audience a little bit more about the research that you're undertaking and what it is revealing?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me. So the Carter Center really wanted to gauge awareness, understanding, and support among the public for alternative response services in the city of Atlanta, but also Fulton County and services like PAD. And so we contracted Technometrica, which is a national polling firm, and in 2024, they conducted a survey of 1,327 people across both Atlanta and Fulton County. PAD services right now are only available in the city of Atlanta, but we wanted to understand if there was an appetite for expanding those services across Fulton County. And what we learned was that 71% of respondents really do support alternative response services like PAD instead of police for instances relating to mental health issues, substance use, homelessness concerns.
And Carrie, what kind of challenges do the providers and proponents for these sorts of law enforcement alternative techniques face in implementation and perhaps funding?
Thank you. So a key challenge is awareness. So even though there was a high percentage of respondents who support alternative response, 77% of the respondents did not even know that PAD existed. Furthermore, as already noted in this piece, there was a there was a challenge with city funding, county funding. So, of course, we also see the challenge with sustaining and really institutionalizing alternative response, relying on city and county funds. And in our survey, we also asked respondents how they preferred such services to be funded. And we learned that 64% of respondents do prefer public funding to go towards these services.
What kind of response have these recommendations gotten from those in law enforcement?
So the other thing the Carter Center does is support the Justice Policy Board in their strategic planning, which comprises city and county officials, including APD. And so the core goal of the Justice Policy Board is to divert people away from the jail. And the APD is a part of that process. And in fact, in our own polling, we convened a multi-stakeholder group to support us in developing the tools for those surveys, and we had APD representation. So there is support. I want to make sure there's understanding, and this is another key issue when it comes to institutionalizing alternative response. We have the Center for Diversion. We also have a new co-response project that was recently launched by Fulton County. But these are not services that the community can use. And so in the piece that you just showed by PAD, really the public wants an opportunity to be able to support the individuals in their own communities that are needing services and support instead of police involvement and seeing them potentially arrested and jailed.
And when we are having this conversation about these alternative techniques and diversions, a lot of the conversation is understandably focused on folks who are struggling with issues like mental health challenges, substance use disorders, poverty, homelessness, people who are really going through it. What kind of impact does programs like PAD have on folks who get connected with PAD or a similar program as opposed to going through the traditional justice system?
Well, I'll start by answering that in saying that the Department of Justice, the Federal Department of Justice investigation into Fulton County's jail, their report in 2024 noted that on average about 62% of people in the Fulton County jail struggles with mental health issues or substance use concerns. So when we divert people away from the criminal legal system, we're really giving them an opportunity to be met with services and support and be in charge of their own recovery and their own livelihoods versus, being treated in jail, which is not a mental health institution.
And we have just one more question's worth of time left. And I want to make sure I ask you this before we let you go. To somebody who might be watching this and maybe even was a poll respondent, to somebody who is supportive, they want to see programs like PAD get more traction and more visibility and more usage, what would you want them to know? What can they do to help your work?
Well, first of all, they can call in the City of Atlanta 311 and request PAD to support people who are experiencing homelessness, poverty, mental health, and substance use challenges. But importantly, they can reach out to their city council members, they can reach out to their Fulton County commissioners and request the institutionalization of alternative response services, non-police services in our city and county.
All right, Carrie Mackey from the Carter Center, we thank you very much. And we are going to turn now. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. All right, welcome back in. We have a very interesting story for you right now. You may not know his name, but you know his product. Dr. Lonnie Johnson is the creator of the Super Soaker water gun. And if you grew up at any point in the last couple decades, or you had kids who did, or grandkids, you likely have seen them enjoying them on a hot summer day. Dr. Johnson is not just the Super Soaker creator, though. He holds more than 100 patents. He is a prolific inventor. And he is now working on a new project focused on renewable energy. Our Danielle Nottingham brings us that story.
You've heard of the Super Soaker. Now meet the mind behind it, Dr. Lonnie Johnson.
How does it feel?
Kind of weird, or like, sometimes I hear people talking about me, or sometimes I'm at an event, people introduce me, and I'm thinking, boy, this guy sounds really cool. I'd like to meet him.
Johnson remembers taking things apart as a child to see what was inside.
So what was that like growing up in Mobile, Alabama, and wanting to be in science and being a young black boy?
I was a kid in the 60s, and that was during the heart of the civil rights movement. As a kid, I used to watch people coming on TV complaining, saying they didn't want their kids going to school with those heathens, those black people, should put them in Sykes and ship them all back to Africa. So I watched all of this on TV and understanding, of course, they were talking about me and people who look like me.
But that didn't stop the future nuclear engineer. As a teen, he built a robot and entered it into a competition.
Now, this was back in '68, just a few years after Governor Wallace had stood at the door there and said no black students would ever attend. And there I was with my robot winning first place. Of course, they didn't ask me about my grades or show any interest in me attending the University of Alabama. And I feel fortunate that they didn't, because I attended Tuskegee.
Johnson went on to work for NASA and the Air Force. The idea for the Super Soaker came while he was inventing a heat pump.
So I made these nozzles, and I had them hooked up to the bathroom sink, and I was doing a little test, and I turned and shot the stream of water across the bathroom. So the stream of water was a very skinny stream of water, kind of like what you see now coming out of Super Soakers. And I thought, geez, this was a lot of fun.
Johnson holds more than 100 patents, including Nerf dart guns and a wet diaper detector. But his next big idea is renewable energy. His team at JTech, which includes his son David, is building a system that will convert heat directly into electricity.
If we could reduce our dependence on oil, for example, it would be one less thing for us to fight over. Because a lot of conflicts globally are because of conflicts over energy resources.
What would you say to any future engineers or anyone who wants to, go into science?
People refer to engineers and scientists as, quirky or whatever they call them. What's the expression? A nerd. But these days it's kind of cool to be a nerd.
It is so cool to be a nerd, and the nerds rule the world.
Johnson is on a mission to save it. On the West End, Danielle Nottingham, 11Alive News.
And Danielle joins us now. Boy, what a story, what a conversation. Danielle, thank you first off for bringing that to us. And I just wonder what stood out to you as you were having that conversation with Dr. Johnson, who has lived such a multifaceted life.
Yeah, one of the things that strikes me, a lot of these figures that we're talking to, they're growing up in a time of segregation, and they want to do these big things, and to live in the South, in the deep South, and still not let that deter you from what you want to do. Just like what I asked him, I'm like, was this always in you? Were you like the little kid building stuff? And he was just like, no, I was the kid taking things apart to see how they work. And that's why he built that robot. And he says, in today's terms, that robot is like a washing machine size.
It looked pretty impressive to me.
But it was pretty impressive. And here you are, you're winning first place at this like national science convention, and the school where it's taking place wouldn't even consider you to be a student there.
And he goes from that background and never let it deter him, to the point, 100 plus patents, as you pointed out. Some really well-known ones. I bet most of the folks who are watching, if you go in your garage, you're going to see some of his work right there. And then he's now working on this incredibly ambitious project tackling one of our most pressing issues.
Yeah, and it's really great because his sons are all engineers too. So his son works with him.
Oh, you're kidding.
Alongside him, yeah.
Wow.
At the place. But he really wants to solve the world's problems. And he says a lot of conflicts we see across the country, what we're seeing right now is about oil. It's about energy. And he was like, if I can take heat, something that's already happening off of factories, off of data centers, if I can translate that into electricity immediately, think about all the energy that is saved, and that could help quell some of the conflicts. So, you know, he's always got something going in his head, as you can see. And the funny thing is, he's got all those patents, but it's like anything we do. Sometimes it's a hit or a miss. And he was like, man, the one he let go, he had some patent about something that helps DVDs, and CDs work. And he was just like, I didn't keep up with the patent. And so I didn't realize if you come up with something, you get a patent. And if other people come up with something, and if you don't challenge it after a certain amount of years, it's fair game. So he's like, that was the one that went away, that got away. But Super Soaker has been very good to him. So
yeah, there's always one that gets away.
There's always one that gets away. But it was just a lot of fun getting to know how his mind worked.
And he was, I mean, as accomplished as he is, he seemed very humble.
Yeah. Super.
Very understated, even as he's sitting in this warehouse that, as I understand, I mean, he spun up, and that's an impressive looking warehouse to tackle these global problems.
It was amazing. We walked in and I was like, I could work here. It's a wonderful space. They just redesigned it on the West End, but I think that's how the science mind works. They see things very neat and orderly. It's structured, but he says that he's not done. And when you think about his background, he worked on, like with NASA, he worked on the Mars rover and the Galileo. He was in the Jet Propulsion Lab for a while. So, you know, he's seen all these things, and he says, I can, when I look at something, I see how it works, and I can see how it could help. And he was like, so just being in there tinkering with a heat pump and seeing the water move, I was like, my kids could do it. And the funny thing is, we didn't have time to get it together to show in there. His son said he would make them save their soda bottles from dinner so he could play around with the design for the Super Soaker. So what we see now, where the water tank was, it would be like a Coke bottle.
Wow.
Attached to something.
And you can see that too if you think about what a Super Soaker looks like. It does have that sort of soda-shaped container on the top for the water. Yeah. Danielle, one last question for you, because we're running a little short on time, but I think it's important to end here. You know, in your piece, you really laid out all of the challenges that he faced in his early years, despite all of the very obvious talent and smarts that he brought to the table. Growing up in the Deep South, those opportunities were really hard to come by for him. Obviously, he pushed through that.
Yeah.
Did he give you a sense of what kept him going when he was facing those early setbacks?
He was saying it was his parents. He said his parents shielded him from a lot. And I have parents who grew up in the Deep South during that same time, and they're the same way. I'm like, how did you do anything? I would fall apart. But he was just like, my parents humbled me. They always encouraged me, and I had great people around me. And he credits Tuskegee a lot with his confidence.
And boy, I mean, you look at the impact he has made in the world, in our part of the country, and his family too. It sounds like every child, but then hearing too, it's a family business. He's got his sons who are engineers. What a great story, Danielle. As always, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to turn now. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back in just a couple minutes. All right, friends, we are well into 2026, and that April 15th tax day deadline, it is starting to loom. Like it, love it, hate it, tax day, tax season, it is a fact of life. And increasingly, there are the threats of scams taking advantage of you in this season. Joining us right now live is Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Maisha Horton, with the IRS Atlanta Field Office. Can you hear us okay, ma'am?
I can. How are you?
We are good. We appreciate you making the time to join us here as we get into what's going to be the heart of tax season pretty soon. You have an important message for folks who are getting ready to file, right?
That is correct. The message that we have for our taxpayers this season is to be vigilant, to make sure that when you're going out and you're looking for a return preparer to file your tax returns, that you are being vigilant and that you are looking for the right information to avoid fraudsters. You know, some of the key things that you want to make sure that you're looking for is that when you're searching for a return preparer, that you are also asking for what's called a preparer's tax identification number or PTIN number. If they can't give you a PTIN number, then you want to go find someone else that can be a little bit more credible. You
How
want to make
common? Oh,
sure
I'm
that
sorry,
you
go ahead.
avoid. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say you want to make sure that you avoid anyone that's making promises as to the amount of refunds that they can guarantee you without looking at your individual tax situation.
Looking out
Go ahead, Zach.
for
I'm sorry.
promises. No need to apologize. And you get into exactly kind of what I was going to ask you next. You gave a really good actionable step there is look out for people who are making firm promises ahead of actually filing, because there's always some wiggle room on whether you're going to get a return, what it's going to look like. I wonder, too, how common is it to come across somebody who is maybe holding themselves out as a qualified tax preparer who actually is not one?
It's actually more common than you think, especially with today's technology. You see a lot of advertisements over social media. In that realm, you may get text messages, you may get emails. So it's actually fairly common, especially towards the end of the calendar year, gearing up for tax season. That's when the fraudsters try to find their victims the most.
And what happens if somebody is taken advantage of like this? They fall for somebody who's spinning them a yarn, and they let somebody who shouldn't be preparing their taxes to do it. What happens, and who is responsible if a fraudulent filing is submitted? Is it the filer, or is it the person whose taxes are being filed?
Well, I want to make it clear, you know, as taxpayers, you are responsible for the information that's listed on your tax return. That's why it's also very important that you remain vigilant, that you receive a copy of your tax return before that it's filed, that you do your due diligence to find a credible return preparer for your income taxes. Although you are definitely responsible for it because it's your name on the tax return, is your signature at the bottom of the tax return, I want to make it clear that we are not looking for individuals that are making errors on their tax return, but we are looking for individuals that are intentionally going out to circumvent or to fraud the tax code. And so those are the individuals that we're looking for, and those are the individuals that we go out and we criminally investigate and prosecute.
And ma'am, this is important stuff. We're short on time here. I want to ask you one last question. It seems to me, like in so many scam situations that we report on, just taking an extra beat, pausing and really thinking through who you are trusting with your money and your finances can go a long way in these situations. You've relayed some other helpful tips, but for somebody who's maybe just joining us, I think it's a good place to end here. Can you give us kind of the 3 most actionable tips for people to help themselves avoid getting swindled like this?
Number one, ask for a PTIN number. Number two, get a copy of your tax returns before they are filed and after they are filed to make sure that the information that you're providing is what's accurately filed with the IRS. Again, you want to also avoid, don't send any of your personal information over text message or over email. Once fraudsters have your personal identifying information, they can do whatever they want with it. And in the event that you do fall yourself falling victim to a tax fraud scam, then you can reach out to us at Atlanta Field Office at ci.irs.gov, or you can go directly to the IRS website at irs.gov.
Well, we hope that that after this conversation, maybe a few fewer people are going to be needing to dial that number. We know you'll be there if people do need you. Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Maisha Horton with the IRS Atlanta Field Office. Thank you very much, and good luck this tax season, because I know it is a busier season for y'all, just like it is for a lot of accountants. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to turn now to a beautiful shot of Florida here. Atlanta Braves spring training well underway. Our Reggie Chapman is there live for us, keeping track of all things Braves as we get ready for a new baseball season that is kicking off before you know it. We're going to hear from Reggie in just a little bit. All right, we are in for a treat right now. We're going to look into Northport, Florida, where Atlanta Braves spring training is underway, and our friend Reggie Chapman is joining us now. Reggie, you've been on the scene for a couple days now. How are things looking? And who else is showing up? I understand a major player has checked in for spring training.
Well, hey, Zach, look, let me tell you something. I'm really excited to be back on the show. I feel like I'm a real friend of the program now. I'm hoping that all this Braves coverage continues throughout the entire season right here on this program. So thank you once again for having us on. Yeah, it's been another busy day here in Northport on day 2 of spring training. We knew that pitchers and catchers arrived on Monday. We had an opportunity to see them have their first workouts on Tuesday, but today, Wednesday, was a day where we saw a lot of big names actually join in the fray. We'll start with some of the smaller ones, as well as Jonah Heim, the catcher that they signed yesterday, has arrived to camp, as well as Robert Suarez, who was dealing with a little bit of a visa issue. But here are the big names and the big face you were hoping to see. Ronald Acuna Jr. has touched down here in Florida. Fresh off his appearance in the Super Bowl at the Bad Bunny concert, he is here and getting ready for a new season. He was alongside Michael Harris II, as well as new signee Mike Yastrzemski in that outfield, as those guys are getting ready for the new year. Meanwhile, in the infield, the entire infield has officially arrived. Ozzy Albies was here on day one, as well as Mauricio Dubon. But Austin Riley and Matt Olson both took grounders and both hit during practice here on Wednesday. So this team is starting to really fill out. It's really an exciting time for this organization. You start to really feel the buzz and the energy of these guys. Super excited to get started for a new year. And their manager, Walt Weiss, says the energy that you're feeling is something that they love this time of year.
No, this is a fun part of camp. You know, when the position players start straggling in, a couple or three at a time, and you see it starting to take shape. You know, it's the team coming together, and everybody. You know, there's a lot of energy at the beginning of camp. You know, in 3 or 4 weeks it'll be a little bit different. You know, you got to get them going a little bit. I've been there, but. It's good to see those guys. They look great and they're ready to go.
I'll tell you what's great to watch, a Ronald Acuna Jr. batting practice. He is a special player, one of the all-time greats of this game, a former MVP, and looking to have a healthy season here in 2026. He actually took his final swing during batting practice after crushing another home run, saying, and if we can say it, he said he's feeling healthy, and we're hoping to see a healthy season for him coming up here this season. Alrighty, so here we will move on ahead here with the injury report as we are in the video here. But a couple of different updates from here at spring training. Grant Holmes says he's 100%. Reynaldo Lopez 100% as well. Both those guys full go after dealing with some injuries a year ago. Reynaldo started the first couple games of the season before missing the rest of the year. He is good to go. Meanwhile, Grant Holmes, who decided to not go for surgery to fix some arm issues he was having. He decided to stay here, rehab the injury. He said he spent a lot of time at the beach when he wasn't rehabbing. He feels 100% heading into the year. We're really excited for Grant Holmes, a guy that is going to have a extra bit of responsibility with Spencer Schwellenbach on the shelf, a player we'll talk about in a second. But here is Grant breaking down just how excited he is to be back out on the field.
Really good, you know, recovering really well. Feeling really good. And the elbow's strong. No setbacks in rehab. You know, everything. I feel like every day it got better. I didn't have any days where I went backwards. So, you know, I feel like that was a blessing. You know, missing the time I did, but I feel like, you know, the time off really helped my elbow, you know, kind of heal and get that rest it needed. As far as I know, I'm full go, you know, fully healthy. So I had a fully healthy off season. Just did exactly what I did the year before. And, yeah, feeling really good.
All right, let me wrap up with a couple of different notes before we go. Spencer Schwellenbach, he is, of course, going to be put on the 60-day injured list. That was announced yesterday. We got a chance to talk to him today. He did confirm it was a kind of a bone spurs issue in his elbow. No plan just yet on what they're going to do surgery-wise. They're thinking maybe a scope to go in there and try and clean that up. That's what you do in the past, or what they have done in the past for this certain type of injury, but we will wait to see what the timetable is for his return. The question is, of course, will it be Bryce Elder, be Hurston Waldrop? Both guys that have got some starts last season. Their manager really excited about the opportunity for both those guys to be able to step up to the plate, and how he feels like they both have the stuff to be able to come up big for this team coming up in 2026. But for now, Zach will send it back to you after another crazy day here at spring training. We'll have more coming up at 5 o'clock, at 6, as well as 11 on 11Alive.
You know, Reggie, you started that report by saying you feel like a friend of the program here. We feel like we are friends of your sports report. You are welcome here anytime, and we are excited to continue to be checking in with you through spring training and then all the way through the season, my friend. We will see you shortly, we are sure. We're going to turn now. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Welcome back in, and we're going to turn now to meteorologist Danielle Moss. And Danielle, it's a little drizzly outside, but I feel like a more hardened Atlanta weather appreciator now. I feel like I got a little soft in my ears in the South, and I like it warm and cozy, and we tend to have milder winters. We've been going through some winter weather. We'll take a little bit of rain right now.
Temperatures in the 60s. What else can we ask for?
Good. Check all those boxes.
Exactly. It's 60 degrees and we are in February. It feels very nice, but we are tracking some rain showers. Here's a look at your current satellite and radar. Overall, it is definitely a kind of a gloomy day. So even if you're not getting on any rain right now, you're seeing the cloud cover. We're going to start to see some clearing here very soon. So not too much longer, but this rain is going to continue. We put a pause to it around 3 o'clock right now. You're starting to see some of that heavier rain showers really south of Atlanta, moving through Noonan. You can see there in Social Circle, there's some pretty heavy downpours, maybe even a thunderstorm north of Griffin this afternoon. But to be honest, our temperatures are really nice. Here is a look outside. This is into our Decatur camera right now. You can see the clouds actually that's Georgia Tech. This is Decatur. You can see some of those raindrops on the screen there. It is definitely a gloomy day, but temperature-wise, we're in good shape. Here's a look at the rest of this evening. What are you expecting? What are we timing out? What are we tracking? We're starting to see some of those isolated showers really moving out of here, and then we're going to start to see some clearing behind this front that's coming through. Zach, you and I were talking, even though we're getting rain showers, as we look towards tomorrow, we're still going to be relatively warm. So this isn't the really big cold front that's coming through. It's just kind of cooling our temperatures right now.
It looks like kind of cooler in the mornings, and then a nice warm up by the time you're driving home from work.
Exactly. So like right now, we're still very mild, even with that cloud cover and that cooler weather. In fact, you can see exactly where that front sits. That yellow there on your screen, those are your warmer temperatures. And then the green sector is kind of like that cool air that we're in right now, but it is definitely well above average. Here's a look at the next 12 hours. It's not going to be super cold overnight. Once again, that rain definitely cooled us down. Yesterday we were into the 70s, but right now, that's not too bad overnight tonight. It's going to be another relatively warm night for this time of the year. What's next, though? What else are we tracking? Obviously, we can't stay into the 60s, but we're going to be there tomorrow, even with the cold front that came through. So it's nice to kind of enjoy this warmer weather because, like you said, a lot of people are tired. I, for one.
I, for two, yeah.
Tired of the cold weather. Talking about snow. We're not talking about that this week. This week we're talking about the warmer temperatures and a really Georgia winter, if you will. Here's a look at tomorrow's planner. Plenty of sunshine once again into the 60s. Another great day to maybe get outside and enjoy this nicer weather. 3-day forecast. Spectacular. Into the 60s for the next 3 days. It's going to be nice. Now, we are tracking some rain showers. This is the big one. This is the big cold front that we're watching. This is going to bring our temperatures back to normal, regulate the atmosphere, if you will. The European track showing some really heavy rain showers late Saturday going into your Sunday. It does look like Sunday could be a washout as of right now. It's going to be something that we'll have to continue to watch. We're not looking at any severe weather, though, which is great, especially when we're talking about temperatures that are well above average. That could get into a very dicey situation. As far as rainfall totals are concerned, that's not too bad. Yes, we'll have some heavy downpours, so we're not looking at any flooding potential or anything like that. In your next 7 days, once again, staying above average, it does look like, and I hate, to put anyone on the spot, but it looks like the groundhog was wrong.
Uh-oh. You are not the only meteorologist who has brought up our pals, Punxsutawney Phil and Beauregard here in Georgia. There's a little weather beef going on.
Yeah, I hate to point fingers, and I don't like to call anyone out and call them to the carpet, but I think...
Look, if somebody had to be wrong... We're going to root for the groundhogs to be wrong, despite my, my deep love for them. We like you guys a lot more.
Thank you. I appreciate
it. These segments always go long because I always love to chat with you guys. I'm informed today by our producer that I am allowed to ask you a question.
Okay.
What a treat.
Special.
Yeah, we always appreciate when you are here. I do want to ask you this. We, as I understand it, we had been kind of on the short end of precipitation so far into this year. I was looking at your graphics there. Some rain coming. Are we still in kind of the low end of what we'd expect for precipitation at this point? Is this the kind of rain where on some level you're like, this is good. We need a little bit of rain for our plants and our crops?
Yes, absolutely. Because despite popular belief, no, we never want a snowstorm to come through because that does cripple the city, right? But that counts as precipitation, so we do need that moisture to come through, and we haven't gotten it, So we've been kind of waiting for this big system. This is definitely much needed rain that's going to be very, very plentiful for our grass, for our ground. It's that time of the year where wildfires can happen in a second. grass fires.
Are we in, and forgive me, I should know this, but are we technically considered drought conditions right now?
Yes. Still right now. It's very low. It's not as bad as it was like this summer, but it's definitely still very dry outside.
All right, this is always a treat for me when you are here and we get to ask you questions. They say that most folks, their only interaction every day with a scientist is when you watch the weather, and I get to watch you do it from right here.
Yeah.
We love hanging out with you guys. Danielle, thank you so much.
So welcome.
And we'll see you back here shortly, I am sure. For now, we are going to change gears. We're going to turn to a story that we have been following for more than 24 hours now, and a tough story out of the southern portion of Fulton County. Yesterday, a fatal shooting outside of Palmetto Elementary School. The school district quickly confirming that all students and all staff were safe, but a woman was shot and killed outside of that school, triggering a lockdown for the students at Palmetto Elementary School. They are back in class today at Palmetto Elementary School. Our Marissa Sarbach was on scene yesterday. She is joining us live again now, once again outside of Palmetto Elementary School. Marissa, what is the latest right now outside of this school as students are back in class, or at least they were to start the day today?
Yeah, about 30 minutes ago, Zach, we saw all of those students head home for the day, getting on their buses, heading back home. It seemed like business as usual for many of these students, but we know that it really was a stressful day for so many of them yesterday. We also were told by the district, Fulton County Schools, saying that they had resources available to those kids after what they went through yesterday. There were counselors here on scene for those students, and there was a law enforcement presence. We saw quite a few cops circling the area in the parking lot here of the school. We actually spoke with one of the moms who was inside the school yesterday to drop off her son. She said it was a very scary moment, but she's actually praising the district for how all of it went down and how safe it was inside the building. Take a listen.
I had walked him down. I walked him down the steps. I stayed for a while. I never stay. I always drop him off and I go about my business. But for some reason I stayed. He really wanted me to stay and hang out, so I stayed and hung out with him. And that's when I was leaving. When they stopped me and all I could see is them closing doors, lockdown, and they did an excellent job. I just want to let the parents who were inside the building to see it firsthand, the students, they were safe, they were secure. The teachers did everything that they could do. They were calm, they followed procedures, they made sure everybody was safe, me and my baby girl. They took care of us. They made me feel safe. I was scared at first, but being in the room with them, they took care of everything.
That mom, Amanda, that you just heard from was one of the moms that actually was transported with those students when we saw those buses evacuate more than 500 kids from Palmetto Elementary here and go down the road to Bear Creek Middle School. So she was on one of those buses. She said she was with her son and her son's class, and they made it over there. Everything was safe. Of course, we do know this was a very sad situation happening just outside the front steps of this elementary school. Yesterday at about 11 o'clock in the morning, we learned that a woman was shot and killed there, identified now as Ebony Anderson. And we have also learned that the suspected shooter in this case was Christopher Ates. He is in custody. He was actually taken into custody about 2 hours from here by the Houston Sheriff's Department in a pursuit. So the Sheriff's Department telling us that they had an alert for a homicide and the vehicle matched that description. They took him into custody. He is expected to be brought here back to Fulton County Sheriff's Office where he will face charges. Zach?
And that arrest made by the Houston County Sheriff's Office, if you're watching and you're not super familiar with all our different counties, 159 of them here in Georgia, Houston County is in central Georgia. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours south of Palmetto. Marissa, a question for you, and it's okay if you don't know this at this juncture. Things are developing quickly. We know that a suspect is now in custody. Have we learned any more from law enforcement about what they think were the circumstances that led up to this shooting outside of the elementary school yesterday?
We haven't heard anything more on the incident itself from law enforcement, but we have heard in a letter that was actually sent from the principal of this Palmetto Elementary to all of the Fulton County Schools parents. It was sent out late last night, and it was detailing the domestic dispute that actually spilled over onto the school property. So they said it had nothing to do with the school itself, but that Fulton County mom of a parent of a student at one of these schools had been on the property, and they say the suspected shooter had followed her onto the property, and that again, domestic dispute spilled over onto Palmetto Elementary School's front steps.
Our Marissa Sarback, we appreciate you continuing to stay on top of this story, as we know you will. We will see you later on today for 11Alive News at 4, 5, and 6. We'll see you then. Thank you. And we're going to turn now to another story, another tough story that we've been tracking, this one for years, following the Appalachia High School mass shooting, the tragic shooting in 2024 at the beginning of the school year. It took the lives of 4 people, multiple others were injured, and now the father of the suspected shooter is on trial, and jury selection has been underway for the last few days. Our Grace King has been following it all. Grace, we understand there are some new developments in this process of trying to seat a jury in this trial.
Well, Zach, at this point, we have a jury. The judge picked 15 different jurors today, 12 jurors, 3 alternates, but of course, they won't know who those alternates are until the trial is over. But that jury, they picked them out today. Now, we're still in Hall County. That's where they picked the jurors, so they haven't been sworn in yet. That process will have to take place in Barrow County, where the trial will start. But big news this morning that in less than an hour, they were able to kind of pick their jurors, make their final strikes, and get ready to start trial on Monday.
Grace, you answered the question I was going to ask you. It was, when does this officially start in front of the jurors? It sounds like that's going to be on Monday. For folks who maybe are just tuning into this stage of this saga that unfortunately has been ongoing since that shooting back in 2024, we know that Colin Gray, the father of the suspected shooter, has pleaded not guilty here. It is unusual to see a parent of a suspected school shooter face charges, but that's what we're seeing right now, right?
It is. It's the first case of its kind, rather, in Georgia. Colin Gray, the state accuses him of providing the firearm to Colt Gray that was allegedly used in the shooting. They say he had received sufficient warning before giving him that gun that Colt could harm himself or others. So they kind of used their indictment on that recklessness negligence claim. We don't often see that. Usually it has to be more of an active role to be charged as a party to a crime, and we don't typically see the parents being held accountable for crimes their children are accused of. And that was a big conversation with jurors. They kept asking them, have you heard about this case? What have you heard about that case? And how does this influence your opinion on this case? Is this something that you could put aside? Is this something where your mind's made up? Because they want to make sure they have jurors who can put their feelings aside. And some of them were saying, as a parent, I would never allow my kid access to a gun. We have, 10 guns in the house. We keep them locked up, but I would never allow my kid access to that. And I can't believe a parent would do that. They obviously pushed those jurors aside, didn't want those jurors. And you had other jurors who said, I take my kids shooting. That's normal. They also were trying to find some people with some middle ground, not fixed opinions one way or another. But the whole parental responsibility, it's, again, the first case of its kind here in Georgia, and it's going to be at the heart of this case.
Grace, one last question for you before we let you go here. I understand that we are not able to get a camera inside of the courtroom as jury selection is underway, but you have been inside the courtroom. You've been describing it for us for the last few days. Are there any singular moments from that jury selection process that stand out to you in your memory as you look back on these 2.5 days of jury selection?
We did, on Monday, there was one juror who, as soon as they started reading out the indictment, she just broke down crying. This is a tough case. We're an hour away, but an hour away is not far enough away that you probably don't know what happened, that you weren't able to, feel some of those emotions from this tragedy. Of course, we lost 4 lives that day, 2 teachers, 2 students, 9 others were hurt. And a lot of these kids and families are just traumatized from it. And this one juror, she broke down. They asked her about that in an individual crying. And she said, I'm just a mom. I can't imagine my kid doing something like this. I can't imagine my kid being one of those lives lost. And it's just so emotional and so tough for a lot of these people to be here. So that's really just kind of stuck with me. I mean, anytime we go out to Barrow County or Appalachia High School and talk to these families, their lives are forever changed. There's a lot at stake here in this trial. Some of them are really hoping they'll be able to get accountability, and others are wondering what kind of precedent this will set for other parents in the future.
Our Grace King, we know you have been following this from the very beginning. We know you're going to continue to stay on top of it. We appreciate it. We're going to turn now. We are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Well, if you are a sports fan, a history fan, a culture fan, there are few times better than the moment we find ourselves in right now. The Winter Olympics well underway in Italy, of course, being brought to you right here on NBC and 11Alive. And look, there's a lot of science that goes into the performances of the athletes you see every day over in Italy. We are joined right now by somebody who knows all about that science. This is Professor Judd Reedy from Georgia Tech. Professor, you study this, you work on this. How big of an impact behind the scenes is the science and research having on the performance of these athletes?
Thanks for having me on, Zach. Yeah, Olympics and sports in general has really adopted the fact that science can improve your performance when you're at these elite levels, and fractions of an inch or fractions of a second really matter. Science can deliver those fractions.
And it really is, particularly at that level, a game, a competition of, sometimes not even seconds, but milliseconds, as you point out, particularly in high-speed sports, which feels like just about every sport we see at the Olympics right now. But what kinds of developments are you following on the scientific front that are aiding these athletes?
Yeah, it's all about sliding down various different frozen surfaces and living to tell about it as fast as possible. So the helmets are becoming aerodynamic. The suits are more aerodynamic. The friction between the blades of the skis or your skates with the ice, just reducing that to minimize the resistance from either the wind or the ice, just adds up. When it's 100th of a second, it matters.
It sure does. And Professor, I would talk about, if you're a fan of sports or if you're a fan of history or culture, this is a great moment. I sometimes like to go back and watch old footage from decades ago or even just a handful of years ago at the Olympics. The gear the athletes were sporting looked very different in the past. How have things developed over the years to try to give these athletes as much of an edge as possible?
Yeah, well, all sports follow the same trajectory in materials evolution. They start with natural materials that are readily at hand. For instance, the Olympics long ago had wool, even wool swimsuits, but certainly wool for the Winter Olympics as well. And then they moved into some engineered polymers such as nylon or using steels. And then they got fancier polymers like carbon fiber and aramid fibers like Kevlar, for instance, as well as what we call light metals. Those are titanium, aluminum, and magnesium. Now we're getting composite materials that incorporate those things and multifunctional materials. So there's, in addition to the strength aspects, you perhaps have some sort of thermal aspect or aerodynamic aspects, as we were talking earlier.
And Professor, I suspect there is a bit of an arms race type of situation playing out between all the different nations who, of course, want to give their athletes the biggest edge when they step out on the global stage. Is it a situation where, when, for instance, we're talking about the U.S. Olympic team, are there scientists who work in the material science space like you do, who are specifically crafting gear for our Olympians?
Oh, most assuredly so. Olympians and everyday you and me. We can go down to the sporting goods store, and those materials that are developed for Olympians eventually trickle down to us, whether it's swimsuits, whether it's nice golf clubs, kayaks you can buy. All of these technological developments start in the high performance world like the Olympics or, say, the defense industries. But as they get more widely adopted, the prices come down where everyday Joes and Janes on the street can utilize it ourselves.
You bring up a good point. I think about, it's often said the NASA missions and the space missions back in the day developed so many technologies, I don't want to say by accident, but things that were not initially considered consumer goods that now we take for granted in our consumer lives. And it sounds like that same dynamic is playing out when we're talking about Olympic sports and athletes and the things we eventually see when we go, us ham and eggers, to get the gear we need to, if you're like me, jog very slowly, but still go out and jog. So there's a little bit of a cyclical effect going on, Professor.
Most assuredly. The market will drive that. Everybody thinks titanium makes everything better. So you see titanium golf clubs, titanium, various different racket and helmet sports. So the benefits, they do come down to us. The aerodynamic helmets on a bicycle, they do make a difference, for instance. Not many people here in Atlanta are luging or bobsledding, but those are important technologies that transition, particularly the bobsled and motorcycle helmets carry a lot of similarities.
And Professor, we have time for just one more question here, because I could go on and on about the Olympics and the tech behind it. I love this season of the year. I want to ask you this question to end here. We've been talking about a lot of different sports, a lot of different technological innovations that go into it. Are there any specific sports, any specific competitions at the Olympics underway right now that you think most benefit from these technological advances?
Well, Great Britain unfortunately just lost a appeal regarding one of their helmets. They had adjusted the skeleton helmet, which is face first sledding down the track, to be more aerodynamic, much like the bicycle helmets you see in the Tour de France that are more teardrop shaped. They ultimately were not allowed to use that. They used it in practice, but won't be able to use it in competition. So it's disappointing that technology is prevented from going ahead in certain areas. A lot of times they talk about protecting the sanctity of the sport. So, well, if that's the case, let's go back to skiing on wooden skis then.
I'm reminded of, I think back to the Beijing Summer Olympics, and that year all the swimmers were wearing sort of the full body swimsuits, and if I am correct, there were a lot of records broken that year, and then in subsequent international competitions, those full body suits ended up being banned, I believe, but it's just an example of the impact the technology and the innovation can have. Georgia Tech professor Judd Reedy, we appreciate your insight and appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Zach. Happy to come back anytime, talk about sports.
We will certainly have you back. We'll see you soon. And we're going to stay on this topic of sports and the Winter Olympics. Our Marcus Greaves brings us a look at a sport that, you know, you might look at it and say they don't need as many technological innovations as bobsledders, but there's a lot of tech that goes into it too, and there's a lot of heart that goes into it too. Marcus brings us a story of a curling family that approaches it as a team sport.
Realizing like, oh my goodness, this is super fun. And it was right after the Olympics and we started watching it again. And then everybody started asking, wait, what did you guys go do?
For the Canes, it all started as a curling lesson for two.
Andrea and I decided to go to a Learn to Curl as like a date night. We were hooked.
Yeah.
Super easy to learn, but super hard to master. And we got that kind of attitude where you just want to get after it and get better. So we've been hooked ever since.
Now, curling gives the Canes a chance to stay active together as a family. And of course, there's always a little friendly competition.
Here to ask who the best curler in the family is?
One of us.
Yeah.
But beyond the bragging rights, it's an opportunity for them to bond.
It gets this one off electronics and it gets us out and about, but it's active. It does lend itself to a little competition, you know, when he shoots a shot that's way better than mine and then he gets to tell me about it for an entire week later. Different things like that, but just being active and being able to share something as a family is super important to us.
The Canes aren't alone. Curling may seem unlikely in the South, but the sport is gaining momentum.
Even in the 2 years we've been here, we've also seen new leagues get added just because there's more folks that are wanting to try it out. And it's pretty crazy because not only here, but we've been to Bonspiels and we've traveled to Huntsville and Knoxville and Tampa, Orlando. All those places all have clubs, which is pretty nuts being down here in the South for it. So you can definitely see it spread not only here in Atlanta, but across the entire Southeast.
And as the Canes perfect their stride, they're proof that the Southeast is warming up to life on the ice. In Marietta, Marcus Greaves, 11Alive Sports.
Warming up to life on the ice. I like that a lot. That was a great story from Marcus. And the dad there said something that stood out too. He said it's easy to begin, but hard to master. I think a lot of good things in life are like that. We're going to take a quick break and be thinking about curling. When we come back, we're going to take a look at all the headlines you need as we head into the back half of the 3:30 hour, including a look at some major national stories that are developing. We'll have all that in just about 120 seconds. And we continue to follow developments out of El Paso, Texas, where the El Paso airport was initially placed under a 10-day airspace grounding, effectively. No flights for 10 days, according to the FAA. That restriction was lifted this morning, shortly after, only a number of hours after it was initially put into place. Sophia Perez reports on this developing situation in El Paso.
Some flights are still canceled, others are delayed after the Federal Aviation Agency's notice that the El Paso International Airport had to be closed due to a national security issue. Now, it was today at 7:30 in the morning that they have lifted this closure, and they have said that the El Paso area is now secure for all the flights that are arriving to El Paso but also departing. Now, let's take a look of what the counters look like. There's a lot of people trying to see if they can reschedule their flights, if they can still continue with their original trips that they had planned. Now, we have spoken to a lot of people in the morning, early morning, which their flights had to be canceled, which a lot of them had work flights. Others were here to take the flight to their dream vacation. Now, let's talk a little bit about what the Mayor Renard Johnson said this morning, saying that this was something unacceptable, that they were not notified by any federal agency about this closure, and that they had to know in order to collaborate and work together to make this happen.
These types of decisions have consequences. Medical evacuation flights were forced to divert to Las Cruces. All aviation operations were grounded, including emergency flights. This was a major and unnecessary disruption.
Now, something that Mayor Renard Johnson emphasizes is that El Paso is not just a pinpoint on the map. It is a big city with a lot of importance to the United States, and they have to collaborate in order to do a shutdown like the one that we saw last night here in the international airport. Now, he says that this is a borderland city that is very important to the United States, and this cannot happen in the future. Reporting from the El Paso International Airport, Sophia Perez, back to you.
Our Sophia from NBC sharing that story. That story was published around 1:30 Eastern Time. We have some updates on the background of how it appears all of this unfolded. The federal government and Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy tweeted earlier today, and this is the full tweet here. He said, quote, "The FAA and the Department of War acted swiftly to address a cartel drone incursion. The threat has been neutralized and there is no danger to commercial travel in the region. The restrictions have been lifted and normal flights are resuming." So the Transportation Secretary pointing to what he described as a, quote, cartel drone incursion as the reason for implementing that, what was initially deemed to be a 10-day flight restriction. New details are coming out that challenge that account of the incident in question. The Associated Press now reporting just in the last 10-15 minutes here, the AP says that and this is a quote from their story, "The sudden and surprising airspace closure over El Paso, Texas stemmed from the Pentagon's plans to test a laser for use in shooting down drones used by Mexican drug cartels," according to 3 people familiar with the situation who were granted anonymity to share sensitive details. So the AP now reporting that the flight restriction, according to their sources, appears to be over a dispute between the Pentagon and the FAA over a military test of a laser to thwart cartel drones in the El Paso area. 2 different narratives at this point. We're going to continue to stay on top of this. If you're a traveler in the El Paso area, what you do know for sure is that flights have resumed and that restriction has been lifted. We're going to turn now to another national story we're following. We're going to take you to Capitol Hill, where a Washington State Democratic Congresswoman and the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, clashed in a hearing today on Capitol Hill.
Attorney General Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information.
Congresswoman, you sat before Merrick Garland sat in this chair twice.
Attorney General Bondi.
No, can I finish my answer?
No, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a specific question that I would like you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members must get to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
that's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she doesn't like the
my
answer.
time.
So,
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't
a
she
question.
ask Merrick Garland this?
I am
Twice,
reclaiming
when he
my
sat in
time,
chair.
and when I
will
reclaim my
continue to
time,
answer.
it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady's reclaimed
I'm
her
not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
The time belongs to the time belongs to the gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. You're not going to answer this question, so let me just
Chairman,
say
I'll
this.
direct it to
What a
you.
massive cover-up.
No, I'm answering a
Mr.
question.
Chairman, will you restore her time? The witness is
I'm not going to get
interrupted.
in the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time
doing theatrics.
and let me have.
And that was just a small part of a contentious hearing on Capitol Hill that lasted about 5 hours. It just wrapped up just a short while ago. We'll have more from that hearing coming up later tonight and on 11alive.com. We're going to turn to another story that we have been following here for more than 11 days now. That is the ongoing search for the mother of Today Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie. Her mother, Nancy Guthrie, 84 years old, has been missing since February 1st. Sunday morning was when she was reported missing after she didn't show up to a church event. And there are new developments in this case. They came late last night. A person, authorities say, was detained for questioning. And that detention came shortly after the FBI released some images they say came from a doorbell camera that showed somebody outside of Nancy Guthrie's home wearing a mask and gloves. They had a backpack on. Our Ivan Rodriguez is in Arizona right now with some of these latest developments.
The images released by the FBI are the biggest break in the case so far. Investigators hope that by releasing these images, someone will be able to recognize this person and provide that crucial tip. A man is speaking out after being detained and questioned by authorities over the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
And they told me I was being detained for kidnapping. And I asked them, like, well, kidnapping of who? And they told me this lady, I don't know her name. And
Nancy Guthrie?
Yeah, that's her. And I told him I work in Tucson for GLS. I might have delivered a package to your house, but I never kidnapped anybody.
The individual was detained during a traffic stop an hour's drive south of Tucson. Authorities executed a search warrant at a home and also searched a car. Both of those searches taking place in Rio Rico, Arizona, roughly 60 miles south of Tucson near the U.S.-Mexico border. Authorities did not file charges, and he was eventually released. Those developments happening just hours after the FBI released doorbell camera footage from outside Nancy Guthrie's front door, taken the night she disappeared. The video showed a masked, armed person with a backpack. There was an uptick in calls to law enforcement after the release of the footage.
This video was a game changer. We don't know how many tips they have had, but they are looking for the person on the porch or anyone who knows anything about him. And I do think it's just a matter of time before we know that person's identity.
TMZ is reporting it received a bizarre letter via email earlier this morning from someone purporting to know Nancy Guthrie's kidnapper and also demanding a single Bitcoin in exchange for that information. When asked by CNN regarding this latest note, the FBI said, quote, outside of our previously issued statements, we have no updates to share at this time. In Catalina Foothills, Arizona, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
The search in this case continues as we approach the 2-week mark since Nancy Guthrie was last seen. The Pima County Sheriff's Office in Arizona also said that it searched a location Tuesday night in Rio Rico, which is a city south of Tucson. Limited details on what they may have uncovered and what led authorities to decide to search that location at this time. If you know anything, the FBI and local authorities are asking you to call. You can call the FBI's tip line. That's 1-800-CALL-FBI. That number again, 1-800-225-5324. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. The Olympics are underway over in Italy right here. We have Maria Martin joining us.
Hi.
Hey, it is winter sports time.
Yeah.
We're talking a little hockey today.
I wish I could talk about hockey all the time. So
Well,
I'm
we have a
very
lot
happy
of
to be
time
doing
here,
that.
so the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want to know? Ask me a question, anything.
Yeah, that was a soft tee up for you there. But in all seriousness, there is a kind of a milestone
Yeah.
right now. For many years, I think a dozen years, players in the NHL,
Yeah.
they could not compete in the Olympics. I have a lot of memories, when I was in high school and younger, seeing them, some great, U.S.-Canada games. That stopped. Now they're back.
Yeah, it's really nice to have the NHL players back. And when you talk to anybody that plays hockey, this is the moment that they waited for since Sochi in 2014. It was the last time that the NHL players played in the Winter Olympics. And USA, Canada is always a great rivalry, obviously. They're not going to be playing first, okay? Hopefully they meet up at some point. But it is something that's so fun to watch. And you remember just a couple of weeks ago, I think it was a month ago or so, when you saw that big match between USA and Canada, the world went crazy. And so it just amplified the excitement around NHL players being back in the Olympics. Look, you want to see the best players in the world play each other. And to me, that's the National Hockey League, and to everybody else that is as well. So it's truly not best on best unless those guys are out there. So this was a big thing, and these guys really love playing for their countries. I mean, everybody comes together for the NHL. A lot of the teams are based here in America, of course, some of them in Canada as well, but you've got Finland, Sweden, Russia, Americans, all of them are fantastic at hockey, and they really take the pride of their country on the ice for sure.
And this was I don't want to call it banned, but I guess it was.
Yeah.
It was instituted on the NHL side. It wasn't on the national team side, right? So all of those countries, because the NHL is such an international domestic league,
Yeah.
all of those countries weren't able to tap the athletes who are their best hockey players.
I know, and it was probably so frustrating for them as well, right? Because even though it's a great opportunity for these amateur hockey players, if you want to call them that, or semi-professional hockey players that are playing in the Winter Olympics, I think it's a great opportunity for them, but they still want to be in the mix with NHL players because remember, these rosters aren't entirely made up of NHL guys. They are sprinkled in throughout the rosters, and so I think it's really, really cool. America's got a very strong team. Canada always has a strong team. Sweden, Finland, all of the list goes on of the guys that I mentioned earlier. So I think that it's going to be so much fun to watch what happens when America takes the ice tomorrow. Now, I think what's very important for everyone to remember, Miracle is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of American hockey for sure. And that was the last time that the Americans won a gold medal.
And they did it here on home soil too,
in Lake Placid. Exactly. And it's still one of my favorite sports moments of all time. 1980, I was not alive yet, but I can appreciate how incredible that moment was and just how big of a feat it was. We don't have to worry about that being a feat this time because there are NHL guys that are going to be on the ice, but man, it is a lot of fun. I'm so excited to watch those guys go.
You know, and you are, I don't think I'm outing you here and saying you are a great sports fan. You cover everything, you know, nonpartisanly, of course.
Yeah.
But you're a great sports fan. You're a great hockey fan.
I'm a huge hockey fan.
And, you know, you wear that fandom in a part of the country that, you know, is not, for better or for worse, super known as a hockey hotbed here in Atlanta. But there is a growing, percolating hockey current that you're really tapped into.
Yeah, and I think what's scaring me a little bit about that is that it has been very quiet for a little while. That might be good news. It means that the NHL is possibly going to have those conversations. I know they are having those conversations, but look, I hope that we're getting closer when it comes to bringing an NHL team back here to Atlanta. And a lot of people think, why the heck would you give Atlanta an NHL team for a third time? Because it's failed twice here. But the landscape has totally changed, as you kind of mentioned, Zach. It is a totally different atmosphere here. I think the city has, you know, quadrupled in size. That's not a real metric in how the city has grown, but seriously, it's exploded. And I think that that's a really good thing. You have people from all over the world, all over the country that live here in Atlanta that want hockey. It is such a fun sport, and I've always said something that a lot of hockey players say, it's if you don't like hockey, you've just simply never been around the sport. And it's true. And especially in this part of the country, it's growing so rapidly around the South. You've got Florida, you've got the Carolinas, you've got Tennessee, all that are hotbeds for hockey now.
Good teams, too, on the ice.
Very good teams.
They're winning games.
Shout out to Gabby and the Florida Panthers. Let's go. Vamos Gatos. That's Gabby and I's team. And we get to wear that fandom because I don't have an NHL team. But if the NHL comes back to Atlanta, I'll kill the fandom just a little bit because that's how I cover sports. But what I will say,
We're all pros here. We know.
Yeah. But for now, I get to be a Florida Panthers fan. But what's really cool about it is you think about these southern states. I mean, look at the women's side that are competing right now in Milan. There is a young lady from Texas sniping on everybody, and she's doing such a good job. So, you know, I think Southern hockey has had its moment, but it's only going to continue to get better. I would love to see this city get a hockey team again, not just because I'm a fan, but I think we deserve it. And it's the one missing piece to the puzzle of all the major professional sports. I really want it back here.
I think a lot of people want it back, and I would love to get to see you and Gabby cover it and be fans and bring us. It would be really cool. And we talk about this groundswell of support. Maria, I know that you went to a local rink not too long ago to talk to some of the folks who have this excitement for the game, this passion for hockey, and are really thrilled about NHL players coming back to the Olympics. If we have that queued up, do you want to listen in?
Yeah, I'm excited for this. Let's do it. Hockey might not be the first sport that comes to mind in the state of Georgia, but it's growing in popularity at a consistent basis.
You can tell that the game's growing, especially down in the South, and even when we go to play other teams down in our division, like you can just see the support they get as well. And so I think you can really see how hockey is spreading to different parts of the country, and it's not just, you know, a northern heavy sport.
The Atlanta Gladiators are a minor league affiliate of the NHL team, the Nashville Predators. They play in Duluth and help grow the game in our area.
Having the Gladiators in Duluth, Georgia, and obviously having the NHL teams expand, and they're looking to bring a team back to Atlanta, I think that's just incredible. It's incredible for the game of hockey, but it's also great to show a lot of people what hockey's all about. And I think there's something special about really being physically in the building and watching the game.
The city of Atlanta has had 2 NHL teams in the past, and the hope is our city is granted a 3rd opportunity in the future. Until then, we get to enjoy NHL players back in the Olympic Games.
Now you get good on good. The NHL is back for the first time in 12 years since it was played in Sochi. How exciting is it to have NHL players back on those rosters?
It's great that the NHL is letting the players back. Like as us kids growing up, like that's you grew up like idolizing watching those guys playing on the Olympic stage, the world stage, and then obviously too, it's just only going to help the game grow like globally.
And the NHL is the best league in the world, so without those players from the NHL, then it's really not best on best. The last Olympics, there was other players there, and it was great and it was fun to watch still, but this year it's going to be the best on best players, and it's going to be the most exciting hockey I think that's going to happen for a while.
And they'll get to watch a former teammate in Milan. Former gladiator Louis Bondon was named to the French Olympic hockey team.
Obviously, he knew this kind of Olympic break was coming up, and we're super excited for him. I mean, I can't wait to watch him and kind of follow along with his journey and success in the Olympics.
Every day, just put his work boots on, and was just awesome to be around. So for him to have such an amazing accolade for him, like we're just so happy, and I'm excited to watch him play with some of the best players in the world.
Okay, so I didn't want to ruin that for you guys. I wanted to make sure that you knew that there was a former gladiator that's going to be playing in the Olympics. I love that. On the French team, of course, here we're going to be pulling for the Americans, but we can pull for Louis too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a local connect, and in anything, any genre of life, you talk about if you're trying to build something, seeing somebody who has done it.
So cool.
It opens that door so much, and I mean, those young athletes you talk to, I'm sure they look at him and say, well, shoot, the sky's the limit here.
Yeah, I know they're very excited for him. Obviously, he doesn't play for the Glads anymore. He had moved on, but since they were FaceTiming him just before we did that interview, which was really cool. And you'll also get to see me play hockey.
How did that go? I bet very well.
Okay, so what's really funny about it is those guys are great. They're big troopers. Shout out to you guys. You guys are amazing. But Dylan, the second one that you saw in that interview, was talking a lot of smack to me, okay? And it was great to show him that I can actually skate, even though I'm from Florida. People like to talk some crap to me, but, I can skate, I can play, I shot some goals. Not well, but, we were out there.
And there's video evidence of this somewhere?
Yeah, it's going to be out on February 16th. We're going to air it on 11Alive and 11Alive Plus.
Everybody mark your calendars right now for February 16th. Maria, beginning your Olympic journey.
I didn't hit any top shelf goals, which I really wish I would have, but I couldn't really get the lift that I wanted on the puck. But I didn't fall, so that's all that matters.
We're going to call that a big win, and we are excited to see that. We're hoping for some big wins over in Italy as well, or Maria Martin. We always appreciate it.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it.
That is it for us right now, but in just a couple minutes, 11Alive News at 4 o'clock begins with a lot of stories that we have been tracking all day long, including the very latest following that shooting outside of Palmetto Elementary School yesterday. That's all coming up in just a few seconds.
first on 11 Alive Plus at 4, a deadly shooting on an elementary school campus. Now we are learning more about the victim killed steps from the front door.
And we're going to break down the unsealed federal document tied to the search of Fulton County's election hub. The key witnesses it includes as county leaders are pushing back, calling the allegations old claims already disproven.
We started off with some light rain this morning that is finally pushing down to the south, and we even have some sunshine breaking through right now. We'll let you know how long this drier weather will now stick around.
Hey, thank you so much for streaming with us on 11 Alive Plus. I'm Faith Jesse.
And I'm Ron Jones. So right now we're examining the more than 40-page affidavit that the FBI used to secure the warrants for its raid at Fulton County's election hub.
That's right. It's an affidavit several Fulton County leaders say is filled with theories that have already been debunked. 11 Alive's Gilat Malamet joining us with more on what we're learning about this case, Gilat, now that the affidavit has been out for about 24 hours.
As part of the probable cause in the affidavit, it lists 11 witnesses. Those names are redacted, but we combed through the document to try and learn who those witnesses are.
The affidavit identifies 2 of the witnesses as current state election board members, saying one is appointed by the Georgia House of Representatives, which would be Janelle King, and the other is the Republican-appointed board member, which would be Dr. Janice W. Johnston. Johnston introduced a resolution that the State Elections Board approved to seek help from President Trump's Justice Department to re-examine the 2020 election in Fulton County. State Election Board member Republican Sally Grubbs was at the Fulton County election hub as the FBI seized nearly 700 boxes. I asked for her reaction to now seeing the affidavit.
It was pretty comprehensive. It contained a lot of information that we already knew, of course. I just am glad to see some things being addressed that need to be addressed.
I asked what she wants an answer to that could perhaps be in the seized documents.
I think that the missing ballot images or explain to me why it's okay to duplicate and triplicately scan ballots. Why was that okay?
Shortly after the affidavit was unsealed Tuesday, Fulton County Chair Rob Pitts called it politically motivated, with no new details that haven't already been disproven.
Recycle rumors, lies, untruths.
Another witness is listed as the Director of Elections for the Georgia Secretary of State in 2020. That would be Chris Harvey. Part of his account in the affidavit is he was not aware of any discrepancies between voters counted and ballots. He declined our request for an interview.
Yeah, still so many questions about this. Gilat, thank you so much for bringing us the latest information. Now, we know that the affidavit also identifies a current Fulton County commissioner who was a poll worker in 2020 as a witness. The affidavit says that the FBI is looking into possible problems with Fulton County's 2020 vote count, including its admission that it does not have scanned images of all the ballots counted during the original count or the recount. The affidavit says that Fulton County has also confirmed that some ballots were scanned multiple times during the recount, but investigators note that they're still not sure whether any of those issues amount to a crime. Well, during this raid, the FBI removed hundreds of boxes containing election materials. Democratic lawmakers had some strong criticism of the affidavit today at the state capitol. Take a listen.
The affidavit is pathetic. It is a regurgitation of baseless complaints by election deniers and conspiracy theorists who refuse to accept that Donald Trump did not win Georgia in 2020.
Meanwhile, Republicans are renewing calls for overhauling Georgia's voting system, saying that voters should return to paper ballots instead of machines relying on QR codes.
I believe that we need to have stricter laws on the enforcement of our voter rolls. I believe that if we find that counties are not maintaining their voter rolls as they're required to under state law, it should be an automatic trigger for the state to take over their elections.
Meanwhile, Cobb County election officials are now asking state lawmakers to delay a new election law set to take effect in July, warning counties are not ready to comply to this law. So the law bans the use of QR codes to count those votes, but Cobb County says that its current voting machines rely on QR codes, and the state has not approved the new equipment, provided guidance or even allocated any funding to change all of that. Election officials warn that without changes, counties could be forced to hand count those ballots, risking higher costs, staffing challenges, and missed certification deadlines. The board is also asking lawmakers to push the deadline back 1 year and fund a statewide transition to new voting systems. All right, it's now time to check out that gloomy weather impact forecast out there.
Also a little wet out there. Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb joining us. But Chris, you say we're drying out.
We are. It's past tense gloomy. It was gloomy this morning, but it's better now. We even have some sunshine that is breaking through out there at this hour. The rain that came through earlier has pushed down to the south of us. Take a look at radar, and you can see what we're talking about here, where North Georgia, we're fine. Atlanta, no rain around. The rain is pushed down to the south of us, but we did have some of those showers that came through a little bit earlier today and this morning. It was a little more gloomy, but now it is getting better as everything is now moving away. And you can see in Atlanta, we are rain-free. North Georgia is rain-free as well. All of those showers are now down to the south. Still some of those hanging out in parts of Troup County, Meriwether County, also over toward Pike, Lamar County, Upson County, and then moving out of Putnam County over here away from Lake Oconee. Also, not only is the rain moving out, but look at this. The clouds are clearing out over North Georgia. We're seeing some sun breaking through here in Atlanta. On the south side, we still have some of those clouds around, and we're going to continue to see that clearing out there tonight. I want to show you the differences in northwest Georgia right now in Rome, where we have mainly clear skies, some sunshine coming through, a few of those clouds still hanging out. Compare that to on the south side. In Henry County, we still have the clouds around, and that's where that rain is pushing away from Henry County right now. We'll all be improving tonight. And then during the day tomorrow, how about this? Plenty of sunshine. We start off at 39 degrees in the morning. We get back up to the lower 60s, looking really good. Those temperatures still trending a little bit above the average. Stay with us. We'll let you know if we'll dry out for a while and when we'll see our next rain chances and how that could impact your Valentine's weekend.
All right, Chris, here is a look into the traffic this evening. There is an incident on 285 eastbound. This is near Peachtree Boulevard. This is really in DeKalb County, but you can see that there are 4 lanes closed. They're trying to get some debris off of the interstate there. It looks like there was some kind of crash involving a semi-trailer, and there's only 1 lane open. So it's definitely causing some really big backups on the top end of the perimeter. In fact, traffic right now moving around 4 miles an hour. So it's definitely slow and go. As you take a look elsewhere around the city, there are a lot of incidents. In fact, there are 2, 4, 5 that you can see on your screen. We'll start on the west side here into the downtown connector, 7585 northbound at 10th Street. Also an accident at Fulton Industrial Boulevard and Bolton Road. And then on the north end of the perimeter, Ashford Dunwoody at 285 West Brown. Right now, most of these accidents are just fender benders, so I'll keep my eye to see if something more serious is going on. Ron?
Danielle, Chris, thanks a lot. Hey, new this afternoon, we're now learning the identity of the woman shot and killed just yards away from a Fulton County Elementary School's front door.
That's right. We brought this to you as breaking news yesterday. 11Alive's Marissa Sarback, one of the first reporters on the scene. She's joining us live now from Palmetto Elementary. Marissa, can you paint a picture for us how it compares today to yesterday and what more we've learned about this victim?
Yeah, Faith, Ron, we are certainly getting a lot more answers today. We have actually received a letter from the principal of Palmetto Elementary sent out to the parents late last night detailing that this was a domestic dispute that they say poured over onto their school campus just steps away from the front door of Palmetto Elementary. We've also been able to confirm the identity of the victim in this case, Ebony Anderson. She is a mother of a student at the Fulton County School District. We've also found out that the suspect in this case is now in custody. Christopher Ates was taken into custody last night by the Houston County Sheriff's Office near Macon after his vehicle triggered an alert, wanted for a homicide. Fulton County Schools says it was a domestic dispute that followed the victim to the front steps of Palmetto Elementary School. One mom was inside dropping her son off when the shooting broke out.
All I could see is them closing doors. Lockdown, lockdown.
Amanda Becks immediately panicked with her son in the school and her youngest in her arms.
I was walking up the steps, about to walk out of the building, and to the administrators, they stopped me. And they were, of course, in a rush, rushing me to a safe zone, and I picked my baby up and I took off running.
She took the bus over to Bear Creek Middle School with her son's class during the evacuation and could not stop praising the Palmetto Elementary teachers and staff for keeping her family safe.
They were calm. They followed procedures. They made sure everybody was safe, me and my baby girl. They took care of us. They made me feel safe. I was scared at first.
We know Ates is expected to be transferred to Fulton County custody, where he is also expected to face multiple charges. Reporting live outside Palmetto Elementary School, Marissa Sarback, 11Alive News.
All right, Marissa, thanks a lot for the update there. Turning now to the state capitol, a House committee is now moving forward with a bill that would tighten rules on a program allowing farmers to spread chicken waste onto their fields. Now, neighbors often complain about the smell and say it's just as bad as you would imagine. 11 Live Doug Richards is at the Capitol right now, so it sounds like the bill is still protecting this program. Why is that happening, Doug?
Well, because it is a byproduct of the state's largest industry, which is agriculture, and even backers of the bill say that it represents a bit of a baby step reining it in.
Awful. You can't do nothing outside.
Sandra Walton told us a year ago about her family's experience with chicken sludge spread on the property next to her home in Wilkes County.
Don't nobody want to come and sit with you outside because it smells so bad. You can't entertain nothing outside. You cooking on the grill, the flies. It's awful.
The state sanctions the spread of chicken sludge on agricultural fields in rural Georgia as a way to recycle the noxious byproduct from chicken processing plants.
Agricultural fields just being used as dump sites just to get rid of just massive amounts of it, the soil amendment, and not really doing anything for the soils there, So the program has been abused.
But not shut down. The state says it helps the state's poultry processing industry.
We process 30 million pounds of chicken a day in the state of Georgia.
State Representative Trey Rhodes introduced a bill to require keeping the sludge, which the state calls soil amendment, away from the property of neighbors.
Saying we must store it at least 100 feet from the property line and we cannot unload from a public road.
A House committee approved Rhodes' bill at a morning meeting.
Well, it's still going to be obnoxious in nature. It's not going to stop the soil amendment program at all.
Sam Moore has dealt with it in Wilkes County. Jay Paul sees it regularly in neighboring Oglethorpe.
It's industrial wastewater, and it should be treated as such. And it should go into wastewater treatment plants, in my opinion, is where it should be.
That is not the opinion, however, of the folks who run the soil amendment program. The State Agriculture Department has said that it has stepped up enforcement of incidents where soil amendment applications have perhaps been abused. Even if this bill passes, it's not expected to be reined in much at all, except away from property lines. We're live at the Capitol tonight. Doug Richards, 11 Alive.
We just have to see how it all works out, Doug. Thanks a lot for that perspective. All right, straight ahead tonight at 4, survivors of Jeffrey Epstein rallying on Capitol Hill, calling the handling of the case of betrayal. Why they're now demanding answers from Washington next.
And customers wait 40 minutes just to get in his checkout line. The Ackworth Publix employee turning groceries into inspiration. We have that after the break.
And here's another look at 285 eastbound at Peachtree Road. You can see one lane open. A lot of accidents around the metro area tonight. I'll bring another update coming up after the break.
Well, Attorney General Pam Bondi repeatedly clashed with Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee during her testimony at the Justice Department oversight hearing today.
A lot of fireworks today on Capitol Hill. So she also told California Democrat Eric Swalwell that the DOJ is looking into threats against his family. And she also sparred with Kentucky Republican Thomas Massie, who co-sponsored the Epstein File Transparency Act.
The majority of the American people wanted Donald Trump. One of the main reasons was border security and keeping Americans safe. And that's exactly what he did. And that's why today the other side sits here. They yell, they cut me off. They want to yell, they want to ask a question and don't want answers because they want to distract from all the great things that this president and this administration working hand in hand, and that includes Secretary Noem, who has closed our borders, and Tom Homan, who has closed our borders to keep Americans safe.
Now, survivors of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein are now calling for answers from leaders in Washington, D.C.
That's right, and some of the survivors and some Democratic lawmakers, they rallied outside Capitol Hill this morning. You see that video there ahead of that oversight hearing where Attorney General Pam Bondi also answered questions about Epstein's case. The survivors called the handling of this case and the government's files a betrayal.
The people who have harmed us, they are hidden, while survivors have been exposed. Abusers' names and contact information is redacted while our faces and stories are left on full display. This is not protection. This is betrayal.
Now, during the hearing, Democratic Representative Pramila Jayapal of Washington asked Bondi to apologize for the department's failure to fully redact survivors' names before those files were made public. Bondi declined, accusing Democrats of theatrics.
Temperatures today are started off a little bit mild this morning with the rain around. Then we got up into the 60s. Now we have cooled into the 50s, even with the sunshine that is breaking through. We've got the rain that is pushing away. It is moving out. And now the sunshine is returning, not only now, right before it sets, but also through the day tomorrow. We're going to see a lot of sunshine around, too. So you'll want to trade your umbrella in for your sunglasses as those showers from earlier today are out of here. And they have moved down to the south. Some of you watching us right now on the south side still dealing with a few of those showers down in parts of Troup County, Meriwether County, Pike and Lamar County. You're seeing some of that, but it all moved out of Atlanta just a little bit earlier through the afternoon hours. It pushed away, and we now have not only rain-free conditions, but also the clouds are starting to move away from our area too. But here's where you can see some of that rain still just south of LaGrange, nearing Pine Mountain, southern parts of Meriwether County, also southern Pike, Lamar County, moving into Upson County. We just had these showers in Putnam County move away over toward Baldwin County and Hancock County. So the drying out process is continuing, and not only is the rain moving out, but we'll put the clouds over here. Look in North Georgia how the clouds are also moving out. They're breaking out up here in Metro Atlanta. It's going to be a process before those all clear out, but I do think we'll see clearing skies for the rest of this afternoon and also into the evening hours as well. Live look right now at Hartsfield-Jackson. You can see some of those clouds that are hanging out here right now. Visibility is okay. Runways are still a little bit damp from the showers from earlier, but we don't have any delays right now at Hartsfield. Look at these temperatures. We did cool down a little bit, 59 as some of that rain came through. We have 60s on the south side, even 70 right now in Eatonton. But then look at Marietta at 61. Rome is 67. The reason it's warmer there is because the sun is breaking out there, and that's helping to warm things up just a little bit. So really a wild look at some of those temperatures with that range that we have. We're going to watch these temperatures through the rest of the day, generally falling down into the 40s as we go through the late night hours, and 40s, even 30s to start the day here for tomorrow. So the rain continues to move out. We have that northerly flow that's going to bring in some of that drier air. And then tomorrow morning it's going to be chilly with those temperatures in the 30s. And then when we go through the rest of the afternoon tomorrow, generally in the 60s in the afternoon hours, will remain dry. We'll just have a couple of clouds that'll be mixing in with the sun here and there. And we'll continue with a couple of dry days for Thursday and Friday. And now the models have been pretty consistent in delaying the onset of rain on Saturday. So I really think a big part of the day on Saturday is going to stay dry. If you have plans on Saturday night to be out for Valentine's weekend, there might be a couple little showers around. I still think the better chance of rain will be on Sunday. Still watching for the potential for some thunder showers. Drying out though Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And we warm up back to 70 degrees by the middle of next week. Oh, here's a look at your weather well moment. Sorry about that. Denzer Oscar sent this to us for early this morning. from Atlanta, where we saw the clouds that were out there this morning and some of that rain around. Kind of a dreary look to wake up to today. Thanks, Denser, for sharing that with us. Denser's part of our 11Alive Weather Impact Team on Facebook. You can join that group. It's so easy. When you're on Facebook, just search 11Alive Weather Impact Team. Ask to become a member of the group and answer the membership questions, and you're in.
All right, Chris, here is a look at 3 of the cameras that I'm watching right now. These are 3 incidents that are pretty major. The first one is at 285 eastbound. This is at Peachtree Road in DeKalb County. You can see still one lane still working there. They're trying to get that tractor trailer towed off. They have picked up the debris there. You can kind of see it there being towed away. Also, this is I-85 southbound near I-75 right in the heart of town. There is a crash. It looks like it's in the HOV lane, but unfortunately, there's at least maybe 2 to 3 lanes blocked there as well. And then a closer look at the traffic moving through the connector. The biggest ordeal, unfortunately, is at the top end of the connector where I-285 eastbound and westbound are both being impacted by big crashes this evening, Ron.
The rain is gone, but it's still causing a little pain there as well. Danielle, thank you. Hey, it was another strong day for Team USA with a handful of Americans ending their days with the podium with some brand new hardware. So we're going to start off first with Jordan Stolz, delivered his first Olympic event at the Games. Stolz set an Olympic record in the men's 1,000 meters, securing his first goal of these Games. It's the largest margin of victory since 1984, 20 years before he was even born. And he's just getting started here. Stolz still has 3 more events. Team USA claimed 2 spots on the podium in the women's mogul finals. Liz Limley wins gold in her Olympic debut. Jalen Koff, not too far behind, picks up silver for the 2nd straight Olympics. And this is the first time Team USA has finished 1st and 2nd in a women's freestyle skiing event in Olympic history. And our very own Cheryl Preheim, let me tell you, she's busy, working really hard and playing even harder. But she's making sure that she has the right look for the job. So take a look at Cheryl's fit check today, stealing a look from the opening ceremony.
Oh yeah, just me here in the opening ceremony jacket, heading to work. Oh my gosh, this is gonna look really nice on the metro. Check out that beautiful fastener. It's wood with Team USA on it, and then every detail on this stunning Ralph Lauren cream wool coat that weighs about 10 pounds.
Go on, Cheryl, I like that look. By the way, Cheryl Preheim's going to be having a whole lot more coming up at 4:30 and tonight on All Access, which will be live. You can watch it tonight at 7 right here on 11Alive and 11Alive Plus. Straight ahead at 4:30, he's more than just a cashier. He's a hometown hero. How one Publix employee rang up more than $30,000 for Special Olympics. That's coming up next.
Okay, would you purposefully wait 30 minutes in line at a Publix checkout just to say hello to someone? Well, there is one Publix that the lane is not just the happiest in the store, it might be the fastest too. Customers, they line up sometimes 30 or 40 minutes just to get in the cashier's line. Caitlin Ross is reporting that he is very accomplished. He is behind that register. He is just a very popular man cheering on the entire community. Why are people waiting 40 minutes?
It is worth it. It is worth every single second. And what you need to know about Michael is that he is rooting you on, even if you've never met him before. He is cheering for you, and we all want his team to win.
It's a full court press in Michael Masterangelo's checkout line.
We're freaky fast like Jimmy John's, right?
Celebrating every customer who comes through his lane.
You have a great day. You come back and see us, okay?
This checkout line, these customers, they're his team.
I'm just so happy to be here every day to work.
And his #1 fans.
Doing good.
Always cheering him on.
They will wait 30, 40 minutes just to get in Michael's line.
Michael's mom, Dana, says her son is not just included at the Publix in Ackworth. He's celebrated for being exactly who he is.
It means everything. I'm so proud of him. Michael is a people person. He is always happy, upbeat.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Michael is intellectually disabled and has worked at the same Publix for 10 years.
As soon as I walk in the door, I look for him. And if he's here, you know, it just changes everything.
That's why I want you to come see me.
The customers there root for him.
He's my buddy. He's one of the few people I trust.
Trusting him with their groceries and their donations.
I can't believe I did 31,603 by myself at my register. My personal goal is crazy, and I did that in 6 days. This is awesome.
Michael raised more than $30,000 for the Special Olympics from his checkout lane, and he's playing to win.
He raised more alone than certain districts in our region.
They knew who you were at the other stores.
Let's go.
General Manager Courtney McGinnis says Michael treats every person who walks up to his register
how you doing today?
like they're the star player.
Him being so genuine, like he truly cares about every single person that he comes in contact with.
Welcome. Have a good day. Come back see us.
For Michael, helping people
is
the real win.
I love this whole community, and everybody loves and supports me.
Everybody loves and supports him. Everybody in the community, right?
Caitlin, I feel like after this story, there's going to be a lot more people in his line, including myself.
I was going to say, I'm driving to Ackworth to get my
gosh.
groceries. He is awesome.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Caitlin.
Thanks.
We had a soggy start this morning with some of the rain around. It moved down to the south, and not only is the rain moving out now, but the clouds are trying to break up and give us a little sunshine. We'll let you know how long that'll stick around coming up.
All right, here we go. Right now at 4:30, a former DeKalb County police officer avoids prison time after pleading guilty in a deadly shooting. The emotional words from the victim's family.
And justice moves forward in the Appalachia High School shooting. Tonight, we have more information on the father of the accused gunman that prepares to stand trial.
The sunshine's trying to break through right now in Metro Atlanta after the rain is pushed down to the south. We'll let you know if we'll clear out tonight and how long this drier weather is going to stick around.
Plus, investigators releasing new images in the Nancy Guthrie case and question a delivery driver overnight. Why he says he's innocent and what police are now focusing on. Thanks for streaming right here on 11Alive Plus. New tonight at 4, a former DeKalb County police officer pleading guilty today as part of a negotiated deal in the shooting death of a man.
That's right. We were in court this afternoon for Russell Mathis' hearing. That shooting had happened in Stone Mountain back in 2022 when a report about a stolen vehicle turned into a welfare check at Miranda Salome's home. Well, when Mathis opened the bedroom door, Salmon threw a phone. Mathis reportedly believed it was a knife and then fired his gun, killing Salmon. Part of the DeKalb County judge's sentence today, it included 10 years of probation, 500 hours of community service, and says that he can never be a police officer ever again. Well, the judge also ordered Mathis to pay restitution to the victim's family, who spoke in court right before the sentencing.
This case is not only about what happened in one moment, it's about a lifetime of moments my daughter will never have with her father.
Yeah, 11Alive's Molly Oak was in the courtroom today for us. She will be live with more details on this sentencing at 5 o'clock.
Today, the court picked 15 jurors for the trial of Colin Gray. That's the father of the accused, following accused of his son, Colt Gray, allegedly pulled or fired at students and teachers there at Appalachia High School. Well, access to the firearm used in that deadly 2024 shooting at Appalachia High School. 11Alive's Grace King joins us live now from Hall County, the courthouse there. So, Grace, now that we have a jury, what's going to happen next?
Well, the trial will now move back to Barrow County, where these alleged crimes took place. They'll start first thing Monday morning by swearing in these jurors. So here's what we know about the people picked to try this case. All of them live in Hall County, about an hour away from Appalachia High School. So they're a bit more removed from the tragedy than any potential Barrow County juror would be. A lot of them are gun owners, though hardly any of them have ever purchased a firearm for a minor. There are 8 men and 7 women from a variety of professions, and all of them said they could put any pre-existing knowledge of this tragedy aside to give Colin Gray a fair trial.
You know, we should also ask you, Grace, how many alternates are we looking for in this case?
So they picked 15 people total, 12 jurors and 3 alternates, just in case something comes up or a possible conflict arises. Now, the alternates won't know they're alternates until the end. That way, everyone will pay full attention during this trial. But again, we're looking at 15 total people, 12 jurors, 3 alternates. Live in Hall County, Grace King, 11Alive News.
Okay, Grace, thanks a lot for the update. By the way, the trial is expected to last until early March. It's going to begin at Monday a.m. And of course, we're going to be right there streaming it. Well, it's time to check out the forecast. So when I got here, it was a little gloomy. I stepped indoors. Now the sun is out.
Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb says that we are drying on out after a bit of a wet day, Chris.
Yeah, we did see that rain earlier this morning, also overnight last night, and then it finally started moving out a little bit after lunch here for the metro area. And take a look at these temperatures. They've been really interesting today. It's been very mild as we've had the clouds around. We had the rain earlier this morning. Temperatures were generally in the upper 50s to around 60 degrees, really since about 10 o'clock last night, just pretty much stayed steady. Then we started warming up a little bit, 64 at 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock. And then with that last band of rain, we actually cooled down. We're back to 59, getting back up to 60 degrees here now at the 4 o'clock hour. And we do think we might still warm up a couple of degrees here and there before the sun goes down after 6 o'clock tonight. And then we're going to enjoy some drier weather for the next couple of days. Now, the big question is the rain chances for the weekend, and the models have been pretty consistent in delaying the onset of the rain on Saturday. It looks like most of the day, Saturday should be dry. It's going to be late on Saturday when we see the rain chances that are going to be moving in. And Sunday still likes the day with the better coverage of rain. Also, still watching that potential for maybe a little bit of thunder and lightning with it. But right now, the severe weather threat looks really, really low. We'll talk more about that and what happens with those temperatures when the rain moves in coming up.
All right, Chris, we do have a red alert now. Here is a look. We have two completely closed or nearly completely closed interstates this evening. The first one we've been monitoring is 285 eastbound. This is at the top end of the perimeter. This is near Peachtree Road in DeKalb County. Only one lane open. This is an accident involving a tractor trailer. Also, I-85 northbound is also closed. They just flipped a car back on its side, towed it to the shoulder. Hopefully they can get it back open, but it's been closed for at least the last 10-15 minutes. This is a look at all the red on 285 westbound and eastbound. A closer look at the closure on I-85 northbound. This is near exit 85, the Beaufort Spring connector, not too far from our station. So just make sure that you allow extra time. And I would like to say that's the only incident, but unfortunately, it is a very busy evening. Here's a look across the perimeter, really right through the heart of the city. The downtown connector is definitely suffering with accidents this evening. There's at least 3 to 4 accidents right now on 75, 85 south and northbound. Faith.
Danielle, thank you so much for giving us a look at the roads there. Well, today, members of the community, they are calling for a mid-block raised crossing to be built in the same location where a business owner was killed crossing the road. Propel ATL and Atlanta Families for Safe Streets, they held a news conference today on Peachtree Street Northeast. That's the same area where business owner Pradeep Sood was killed while crossing the street early last year. They say that the project, it was approved to be built, but it still has not been done.
Raised crosswalks, like the one the city has installed at Krog Street, make it safer to cross the street because they slow down car drivers who may be going too fast to stop in time for a person walking in front of them using a crosswalk.
Yeah, so advocates say that they are especially concerned because big events like the World Cup are just around the corner. Hey, most people would describe Olympic athletes as inspiring, right? How some members of Team USA are pushing people to try a new sport. And it starts with a simple question: see the horse? Tonight, how one local program is helping build stronger brains and stronger bonds, one book at a time.
You know, this is really exciting. After standing on the podium for Team USA, Corey Teesey and Corey Dropkin are now helping shine a spotlight on a sport that a lot of folks are curious to try.
That's right. And one of those people who are curious, you know who it is. It's Cheryl Preheim. She has more on the Olympic effect curling is having back here at home.
Coming off an amazing day for Team USA, history making 5 medals in 5 different events in 24 hours and already adding to that medal count today here at Milan Cortina. One a lot of people watching is the curling team, a first Olympic medal for the mixed doubles curlers, the Coreys, and here's what they had to say after making that history in Milan.
If you had told us at the beginning of the season that we were going to be Olympic silver medalists, we'd be pretty proud and pretty happy of that, and I'm just so proud of the way that we played this week.
And I love to be able to share that with the crowd and everyone back home and be able to just display how much fun it can be and how complicated and strategic it is, as well as how physically demanding curling is. And I think we did that.
And anytime I'm watching curling here in Italy, I'm thinking about Peachtree Curling there in Marietta and how it always inspires new curlers when the Olympics are on TV.
It's exciting, exhilarating, exhausting.
Absolutely.
Off. There's a different energy on the ice.
Yes.
The kind that swells every 4 years.
The Olympic years are fantastic.
And brings in new curlers like Mindy St. George.
I'm an Olympic baby.
Oh.
In the 2018 Olympics, when the men won the gold medal, I was fascinated by the fact that regular guys could win an Olympic gold medal, because I'm a regular girl. And I'm like, if they can win a gold medal, this might be the sport for me.
For 8 years now, it's been Mindy's after work and weekend passion. Feels a long way from her desk job working finance.
Nice. It is scoring like bocce ball, yeah.
It's a game of technique and strategy.
You always aim at the broom.
Teamwork and communication.
So there's a couple ways. One is yelling.
If you watch closely, you'll see hand signals from one end of the ice to the other.
And this means hack. This means T-line. Kind of like baseball. On how fast you want the stone to go.
For a game loaded with variables that change an outcome in an instant, there's a constant from beginners to Olympians.
Anyone can do it. Any skill level, height, weight, age. It's a sport for everyone. And then, of course, there's the broom stacking at the end, which is the drinking of the beer.
A game for everyone who's willing to bundle up and slide.
Look at that, Bobby.
So if you're at home watching curling at these winter games,
Come on. Yes.
you never know.
Here we go.
You could become an Olympic baby too.
Perfection.
So another big night here in Milan Cortina. A lot of medals up for grab. You want to keep an eye on the ice dancing duo of Schock and Bates trying to defend their Olympic gold. Reporting at the Winter Games, Cheryl Preheim, 11Alive News.
Hey, you know what, Ron? This year, it marks half a century of ice dancing. Have you heard of that? At the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
It's a discipline that traditionally requires a 2-person team.
That's right, but a new version of it is called solo ice dancing, is starting to make its debut on the international stage, including right here in the A.
And if you all didn't know, we have an ice enthusiast ourselves, professional, Grace King. She spoke with U.S. officials and skaters about their hope for the sport.
When the music starts, ice dance judges are looking for patterns, precision, and performance.
Ice dancers are really actually better skaters. Technically, our turns are better. All of the actual footwork type stuff, we used to call it, are superior to many of our fine free skaters who are great jumpers.
They're scoring nearly all of the traditional ice dance elements at the Atlanta U.S. Solo Dance International.
Our next competitor is here from the United Kingdom.
But there's one skater on the ice instead of two.
This is really a wonderful venue for dancers who don't have a partner and who maybe don't want to or just cannot do triple and quad jumps.
Carol Woolley is the National Vice Chair of Solo Dance for U.S. Figure Skating. She says this discipline makes skating more accessible.
It's all gender neutral. It's very even. Everybody does the same steps of the prescribed dances, the guys and the gals.
Plus, the individuality builds camaraderie.
It's an incredible experience, honestly, because you get to meet all sorts of new people, different types of people, and it's wonderful because I'm a social person.
Altair Zengraft competes on behalf of the United States.
I can learn so much from just watching them and being around them and in that space and feeling that energy and the tension that they can bring to a performance.
He learns a lot from competitors like Layla Carnes of Great Britain.
I love it so much because it just allows people to express themselves and be who they are, and just keeping that
authentic, real side of yourself, and being able to translate it on the ice is just so beautiful.
Momentum is building, with 9 countries set to host international solo dance competitions this year. Woolley hopes that will set the discipline up for the world's biggest stage in the future.
Recently, it's become an international sport. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be at the Olympics yet, but we're hoping eventually it will be.
In Alpharetta, Grace King, 11Alive News.
And you know what? I'm surprised that Grace ain't out there. I mean, because she really is an avid ice skater. She's really good at that. And she's been teaching some folks here at 11Alive.
Even Cheryl, because I remember Cheryl came and got the leg up real high. I was like, okay, Cheryl. But the ice dancing, I mean, it's so cool to see all the different sports and the evolution of the different sports that we're seeing at the Olympic Games.
Absolutely. This is so cool. Well, you know, a couple of weeks ago, you could have did a little ice dancing maybe up in north of Georgia, but now, Chris, I don't think we could do that.
Not with this warmer air over us now. We made it up into the mid-60s for a high today. And then we're going to see even warmer air coming in next week. But until then, we have to deal with some off and on rain. We'll put the timeline on that and how it's going to impact your weekend coming up.
Also, new video brings fresh momentum in for the search of Nancy Guthrie. Why the man detained as a possible person of interest is now released.
Welcome back, everyone. The release of the images of the potential kidnapper in the Nancy Guthrie case is now bringing new momentum and tips into the investigation.
That's right, but as NBC's Jennifer Yorkland reports, the first subject of interest who was detained is free after a night of questioning.
A bewildered-looking delivery driver meets up with reporters after a night he says he spent detained and questioned in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
When they finally told you this had to do with some kidnapping, like what were you thinking?
Like, what the am I doing here? I didn't do anything. To be honest, like, I'm innocent.
And you don't even know who the lady is? Do you know who Savannah Guthrie is?
No.
Carlos Palazalos told reporters he may have made a delivery to the address, but can't be sure. The Pima County Sheriff's Department says it did question a man and released him after he spoke with investigators, but did not give the man's name. A former FBI criminologist says police had to have something to connect Palazalos to the subject in this video because they had a court order to search his car and home.
There was a probable cause. There was reasonable belief that he was involved in a crime. That wasn't someone gave a tip that said he looked like the offender. It is far more concrete.
And while there may be disappointment that the momentum of the investigation did not lead directly to an arrest of the person seen at the door of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie in the early morning hours of February 1st, experts say the video has led to a mountain of tips.
There's a lot of leads in there that aren't going to be legitimate, but there's some that absolutely are, and that's what they're going to be focusing on.
For now, the leads have directed FBI agents to roadways surrounding the Catalina foothills area of Tucson this afternoon, as the search is in its 11th day. Jennifer Bjorklund, NBC News.
We're seeing a little sunshine try to break through those clouds now that the rain has pushed out of our area. And we had that rain earlier this morning through the early afternoon, and now it's on down to the south. And we're beginning the drying out process with the wind that is shifting. We see not only the sun trying to break through some of those clouds right now, but we're going to see a lot more sunshine here tomorrow. You'll be trading in the umbrella for the sunglasses. Temperatures will remain comfortable, generally highs in the low to some mid 60s at times. But then we have another round of rain coming in, and it will impact part of your weekend, but not the entire weekend. So here's what we're watching. The rain that is left has moved down to the south, still in parts of Upson County, around Thomaston, also south of Lake Oconee here in Atlanta. No additional rain coming through right now, but we had some of those showers that passed through earlier, and now that last bit is on down to the south here. It's even now south of Pike and Lamar County, moving south of Troup County and Meriwether County. The only area in our viewing area that's still getting some rain near Thomaston, and even that's moving south of Thomaston right now. Here's a look at the clouds. They're trying to break up. It's just going to be a process that I do think we'll see clearing skies continuing through the evening hours and nighttime hours tonight. Here's a live look at our tower cam at Northside Hospital, looking northward here. And you see just a few of those clouds around, not really thick clouds. The thicker clouds are still on the south side in Noonan, but they are showing signs of breaking up, allowing a little bit of sunshine to come through as well. We're back up into the 60s. We topped off at around 65 earlier today. Then we dropped into the 50s with that rain, and now with that sun trying to break through, we're back up to the lower 60s at 61. A lot of those lower 60s around. Still 50s, though, in Kennesaw, Dallas, and also over into Carrollton. Tomorrow, we start off in the 30s at about 39 degrees and then warm a little quickly during the day, finally getting up to around 63 in the afternoon. Also, plenty of sunshine here during the day tomorrow, too. Here's the forecast track showing how those clouds are pushing away. We'll have mainly clearing skies out there for tonight. Northwest flow reinforcing that drier air that's going to continue to move on in. And then during the day Thursday, sunshine in the afternoon, maybe a couple of more clouds will be mixing in with that. We'll call it partly cloudy late in the afternoon. And then another dry day on Friday. And now a big part of Saturday is looking dry. You can see Saturday morning, a few clouds are going to build in, but no rain with that yet. It's still going to take a while for that rain out to the west to move in. So I really think that the first part of the day on Saturday will be dry, although mostly cloudy, and the showers will come in later on Saturday, and then the better chance for rain will be with us here on Sunday. We're still watching that for any potential for some thunder and lightning with it too. So 63 for highs the next couple of days, 64 on Saturday, and again, mainly the first part of the day dry, low rain chance later in the day, better chance for showers on Sunday, a couple of thunder showers possible too. Then we dry out Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with partly cloudy skies. Look how we warm, upper 60s Monday and Tuesday, then up to 70 by Wednesday.
All right, Chris, we are still under a red alert for this traffic incident. Good news for I-85 northbound. That has been reopened. There's still an ambulance. You can see there is still a hero truck on scene and police, but they have reopened I-85 northbound. However, they did just close all the lanes here on 285 eastbound at Peachtree Road. This is in DeKalb County. It's on the top end of the perimeter. It is now back to one lane, but they had to close it to get some kind of debris off the roadways. Unfortunately, 285 eastbound and westbound are moving a little bit slower. In fact, eastbound's moving around 3 miles an hour. Also, here's a closer look at this accident on I-85 northbound. There's also a secondary crash that's a little bit further north from there. So just take your time and allow a little extra time. I'll bring you another update coming up at 5 p.m.
All right, thanks a lot, Danielle. Coming up, did you know that 90% of a child's brain develops before the age of 5? Why our beloved Books for Babies program is back and how it's shaping futures across Fulton County. You know, every parent looks forward to those big moments, the first words, the first steps, right? But brain development starts much earlier, so that's why One Georgia Group is now turning to books to help parents connect with their babies in a powerful way. 11Alive's Joe Ripley explains how it's changing lives right here in Atlanta.
Yeah, you see a blue horse. See the horse?
It's early in baby Ronan's first chapter of life, surrounded by family and love as his story's just beginning.
It's all about that attachment. It's all about early relational health. It's about helping parents understand the value of helping their children feel secure.
Carolina Klinker is the program director of Reach Out and Read Georgia, which partners with pediatricians, libraries, and departments of public health to give books and guidance to parents of kids ages birth to 5.
The providers use the book as a developmental assessment tool, a way to connect with the parents and a way to engage and model behavior so that parents learn how to connect with their kids with books at an early age.
Klinker says 80% of brain development happens before age 3, 90% by age 5.
If they're not reading on grade level by 3rd grade, that sets them back for years.
Marcia Divac plays a vital role in this story as well as Youth and Family Services Coordinator at Fulton County Libraries. She says COVID closed the book on the Books for Babies program.
But over the past few years, we've seen increasing numbers. People are coming back. They're participating more in our programming.
Now, Books for Babies is back on. Reach Out and Read has done checkups for more than 2,300 families in Fulton County. A story Carolina Klinker says could lead to a promising ending.
The value of that connection impacts a child's behavior, impacts the parent's stress. We know that reading reduces the stress in families overall.
Joe Ripley, 11Alive News.
By the way, Reach Out and Read works all across the state of Georgia, and it is currently in 84 counties and gives out nearly 400,000 books a year. Tonight on 11Alive News at 5, a former officer enters a negotiated plea for the shooting death of this man here on your screen. The sentence a judge handed down this afternoon. That's next.
Q just said she doesn't think we're going on time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You said it was good?
Yes, it was really good. It was Cheryl usually does it, but she asked me to do it. Yes, I do, but it was
Thank you.
Hey, Chris, this is Mike. You know what? I didn't check my battery earlier. Let me look at it. I think it's okay.
They should have been told us that.
Woo! Hello, check, check, check. Thank you.
Hey, mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mic check, mic check. They said I'm a little hot. Don't I know it? It's gonna go straight to my head.